Losers Bracket Podcast, episode 122. And tonight is actually a very special episode for us, as we will be, I guess you could say, bidding a fond farewell and good luck to a man that we have grown to know and love, and that is Mr. Lord Jareth, my co-host here on the show. Jerry, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I would be lying if I didn't say it was one of those bittersweet days where I'm really excited about the journey I'm about to take out west and all of that, but at the same time, something I've been a part of in a specific role for 5 years. I have to let someone else take the reins and grow and lead and ideally take the organization to a whole new direction. So I think it's probably really good, but I think change is always challenging. So I would say overall, though, really good.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be. We're excited to watch you take this new journey out west, heading away from your loved land in Chicago. But some people might be asking, where is Kurt tonight? He is actually going to be a little bit late. He'll be joining us in just a little bit. But for now, we will be talking to our guest for the evening, Mr. You might know him as MioFF, but Zach Mazzotta from MachinimaVS, joining us here on the Losers Bracket. How are you doing tonight, MioFF?
Good, man. Doing really well. I'm actually still at the office, so you can see behind me. Actually, Fwiz is behind me, doing some work. but yeah, I'm doing really well. We we launched a channel about a month ago, so I'm still just knee deep in that and trying to grow it as much as I can.
Yeah, and you're right around 60 videos in a month, which is actually a pretty solid amount of content, to say the least. Love the production you guys have done on your interviews, things like that. For those that might not know who you are, though, before we hop right into MachinimaVS, tell the audience a little bit about who you are, a little bit of your background.
Yeah, where to start? So I guess I got into competitive gaming back in Halo 2 days, so 2004. Heard about MLG, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, going to tournaments and, playing for a lot of money. So I started going to tournaments 2005, 2006, 2007. Got on some decent teams. Team with Pistola back in the day, team with the girl gaming team, Genuine with Xena and Smiley Girl, who made pro bracket. Halo 3 came around, team with Ogre 1 before his last event, and then I was like, I don't really like Halo 3, so I'm going to quit this game and kind of focus on my college. And then I became a content writer for MLG during college. After college, I got hired full-time by them, and I was a content producer. And then in February, I came to Machinima, and now I'm heading up the Versus channel for all of eSports.
Which is pretty darn awesome, to say the least. So MLG, go into Machinima. Looks like you've been pretty busy. Give us a little bit about what a day in the life of MioFF might be working at Machinima. What do you do exactly when you're there at that office?
Day in the life at Machinima. I mean, I usually come in around 9:30. I get my tea and a muffin. Come in, check my emails. Then I have maybe a few meetings about we produce an in-house esports show every week called Aftermath. So I help on the script with that. I make sure that everything's kosher there. Besides that, I'm really just looking to expand the channel. So I'm looking at who's doing what on YouTube and who's producing good esports content, which it's rare. And kind of just reaching out to people and saying, hey, are you interested in doing this? And are you interested in being a part of this new channel? If so, let's talk and we can get you set up. So it's a lot of just outreach and talking to people.
A lot of networking, things like that, finding what would be best fit.
Exactly.
For your... Gotcha, makes sense.
Actually, I want to hop in on that note, Zach, because I think, it's funny, over the last couple months sort of been leading up to this transition, starting at MLG Anaheim and sort of working toward this. I keep... And you're going to help me answer this question because you are DNA is sort of esports is in your DNA, being a gamer is in your DNA, you've been doing it forever. That part about talking to people, I would imagine that's gotten more valuable the more you're doing your job, and it may not have come naturally. How did you make that transition from the person who generally communicated over, I don't know, Skype or Instant Messenger or something, to having to really start to talk to people?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think I would have said I was the most social person during high school and stuff. I mean, I wasn't an unpopular kid or anything. I was on the track team, soccer team or anything, but I kept to myself, whatever. But I think I will definitely say that like gaming has made me a better speaker and talker, and then definitely it has helped my networking. Because you go to events and you meet all these people, and you're either really socially awkward or like you have to interact with people, and I think you just get better at interacting with people over time from going to the events, from meeting people, from emailing people. So I think just going to the events and like just improving your social skills, that's definitely helped me along the years. And then MLG threw me on camera a few times, and that made, I don't know, I think I got a little bit better here and there, but I don't know, I think networking in the gaming industry is crucial. And yeah.
Makes sense. So with that being said, then going a little bit back to what we were talking about before with the content, things like that, networking, reaching out to these people, bringing content onto the channel, what have you found to be the most successful with the content that you are putting out on the channel right now?
I think I'm most proud about the deal we did with Quantic, where we did like a little team sponsorship, and in return we have like our logo and the MachinimaVS on their jersey, and they also provide us with some content, 2 videos per week to the channel, and the Quantic deal kind of just made sense because they were already in our network, they understood us, they know how we work, they provide some great quality content, and I think the content they've been providing has been great, and I love it. And I definitely want to do more stuff like that with other esports organizations and teams, and we are currently in talks with others.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Anything like I know I've seen a lot of different unique content as well that you're trying to bring onto this. Like for example, I saw a video recently, and I'll actually cue it up so I can play it here so you can see it. That one that really caught my eye was someone doing Street Fighter versus Tekken 2-player combos with one hand, which was just awesome. Here's a clip of it for the people watching the video right now. But what other kind of content do you want to see? I mean, something unique like this? Do you want to see more gameplay with commentary over the top of it? What would be your ideal scenario? What kind of content should people be wanting? If they want to be a part of MachinimaVS and they want to get something on there, what should they be making?
So I think the things that we're mostly looking forward to get on the channel is stuff like tips, tutorials, analysis, shoutcasting, stuff like that. And I think it's really important for people to want to come to this channel and say like, oh, I want to get better, so I'm going to watch these players, and I'm going to subscribe to this channel because I'm learning from the world's best players, or I'm watching the world's best players. And I think that's the angle that I want to take with the channel. And then like, as a casual game player, like maybe you don't care so much as to, what so-and-so player's doing or whatever, but you just want to improve your gameplay. And you're going to learn from the best players in the world, and that's why you'd come to this channel. And obviously, if you're into esports too, that's why you'd come as well.
Sure. Jerry, please have the next question.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I keep thinking about how challenging it must be to, having been doing. I know the challenges we have trying to get aspiring professional gamers to understand how important it is to generate content and what content creation means. And I doubt it's that much easier with quote-unquote professional gamers, because I imagine they got pro before they maybe necessarily had to realize how important content is. I don't want you to say anything bad about anybody, but I just wonder if it's as challenging for you to get them to be consistent and turn in content and all that.
It's definitely like really challenging. I found that a lot of the pro gamers mostly care about live streaming and obviously practicing, which totally makes sense. They practice for these tournaments, and obviously I want them to do well. But I think a lot of them aren't seeing, maybe it's not the bigger picture, but it's the other part of the picture, that produced content and VOD content is just as big, if not bigger, than live content. And a lot of the guys don't really put that much effort into it. And that's kind of what I'm finding, that I'm looking for all this content in the esports world, and it's not that it's not there, it's just like there's just not enough of it. I think if you look at like and Machinima's biggest partners, you have like the Optic Gamings and like the XJaws guys, very entertainment, like they're very entertaining. I feel like if you just had the combination of like world's greatest player, or like an amazing player plus some entertainment, you'd have an instant success. But you find that some of the pro players, or a lot of the pro players, don't have much of a personality, and then like they do commentaries and you get kind of bored. So then you're sitting there like, do I want to have this commentary on my channel? Like, it's kind of boring, but it's a good player, and there definitely is a big gap between esports, videos and produced content, and your entertainers like XJaws, Woody's Gamertag, etc., etc. So those are the challenges that I'm running into, and obviously having esports people contribute on a regular basis, that's a whole other thing with traveling for tournaments and practicing, etc., etc. I think they just find it tough to commit to a regular basis.
Yeah, I wonder if something I've always told gamers a lot, and that sort of anybody can be good at a game, and I'm not saying that anybody is good at a game, but that's sort of level one of, hey, you're good enough to be considered amongst the best, and then hopefully you have, if it's a team game, the ability to work on a team well. But there's all these other things that, at least right now, I think are really important. And it's interesting to hear you say that, it's not that much simpler, even at the pro level, getting them to be consistent and commit to content. And obviously sometimes, although they might have a good reputation for their gameplay, when it sort of goes over to the idea of being entertaining, it can be a little bit more challenging. So I'm taking from that the real sort of diamonds in the rough, the ones that are really good at both, those are the ones sort of worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm hoping that this channel is gonna hopefully promote those kind of guys and kind of hopefully propel them to a place of where an XJaws or one of those big entertainers go. Because, like, no offense to those guys, and they've even admitted it, they're not the best players, and they give these great tips. Like, T Martin's an awesome guy, and he gives us tips with T Martin videos. It's very entertaining, but it's I don't think it's still as credible as coming from someone like a Nadeshot or a Rambo or a Stainville, somebody. So I think if you just have the combination of being really entertaining and amazing at the game, I don't see why they can't find that same success as some of our other partners within the network.
Well, I want to throw one more thing out there, Jason, just real quick, and then I'll turn it back over to you. But I'm thinking about the sort of as I mentioned earlier, our own challenges that we have in getting players to understand the importance of creating content, and I'm wondering about something you said. When I think about professional sports, the people who are doing the casting are not always the people who are absolutely best at the game. Although, like you said, when you get the mix of both, that's always a little bit more credible and a little bit more interesting, especially if it's a player you followed for a long time and now they've retired and made that transition to cast professional sports. I'm wondering do you think esports as a whole, maybe we don't do a good job at looking for people who are entertaining? Maybe we're too focused on just gameplay talent, or do you think the community wants that credibility? Where do you think it lies, just from what you've seen at Machinima?
That's a tough question. I mean, I think it all depends on what community you look at, because then you have you have the casters in StarCraft 2, and everybody's always up in arms and oh my God, this caster's making more money than the players, et cetera, et cetera. And then you look at the Halo community, and a lot of the commentators got some flack there for not being, they were good players, but maybe not necessarily the best commentators. And I don't want to name any names because I love all those guys over there. But I think it really comes down to each community. Each community has their own outlook on commentators and how they view them, I should say.
Well, if you were to give some advice, if someone was to say, man, you know what, this is the kind of thing I want to be doing. I want to be making content, but I don't know where to really get started. As someone now that is looking at these communities and picking out the content, what would you tell them? What would be the best direction for these players? Where would you point them? What pointers would you give?
Pointers would you give? I would say honestly, just get out there and do it, because there's just not enough of it in esports. There's not enough content around competitive gameplay. I don't think so. I mean, there's I've been looking for it, and like I don't see as much as I do see as gameplays of, oh, this is me playing a Call of Duty level and I'm going to talk about what I ate for lunch. There's so much more of that than there is actual competitive gameplay. And besides that, I think it's also like getting into a consistent regular routine of just pumping out content and getting used to that too. Because some people do it, but they're so irregular. So I think getting into a routine as well is also really important.
So like setting a schedule up for when you're going to release it. Like each Tuesday I'll be doing this. Every Wednesday I'll be doing this.
Exactly. And then like even if you're a total newcomer too, like I know I've listened to people's first shoutcasting or commentaries, and it was pretty bad. And then you could see them just getting better and better and better. You just got to do it more. And maybe people are discouraged, for the first videos. They're like, oh, I suck at this. I don't want to do it. But you really just have to keep doing it, and you will get better.
Right. And of course, the biggest thing, like what we do even here on every episode of Losers Bracket, ask for feedback. So that would be something that
feedback as well. Feedback's huge, for sure.
Yeah, and most definitely. Speaking of feedback, what's some of the feedback you've gotten from MachinimaVS so far? Comments, and how are you looking to implement what feedback you've gotten into the channel?
Let's see. Comments have been pretty positive so far. I'm kind of surprised. A lot of the comments, so we did a lot of content around Evo, and then like right after Evo, people would comment on our like StarCraft videos. Oh, I thought this was a fighting channel. Like what the hell? Like what's going on? I'm like it clearly says in the description, we are catering to all esports communities. This is not just a StarCraft channel or a Dota channel or whatever. So people still aren't understanding that. It's like you compare it to like sports. It's like, oh, I'm a fan of baseball, so I only want to watch baseball games. But I think esports is too small to just like be like, oh, I can only like StarCraft. I think you have to kind of support the entire movement. So I think that's also what MachinimaVS is all about. But back to your point about comments, what else? I think separating each video with like the tag like StarCraft or Call of Duty. A lot of people were complaining they didn't know which video was which, like just by looking at the thumbnail. So we've been working on that. We also implemented like a nav bar where you can just easily sort by like shooters, fighters, strategy, or whatever. So if maybe you're not a fan of any shooter games, but you're a fan of fighters, you just go there and click the nav bar, and you have all your fighters. What else? More gameplay. A lot of people want gameplay, and we have a lot of interviews. So we're working on just getting a lot of gameplay up there. But overall, I'd say the feedback is pretty good.
Sure. You actually brought up what was actually, it really segues really nicely into my next question. MachinimaVS, being that it is a diverse channel, something that is covering not just fighters, not just shooters, not just MOBAs, but the entire spectrum of competitive gaming, is that a challenge for you? Because, like, for example, here with the Losers Bracket, we've always covered all different sorts of esports, and we've sometimes found that might be a little bit difficult because someone might tune in and go, hey, well, I thought you guys were going to be talking more about StarCraft 2, or hey, why aren't you talking more about League of Legends? I love that game, but you're talking about Mortal Kombat. How do you overcome this challenge, and what advice would you give to help bring this entire esports world together so that we can grow fans that I guess you could say what's the word I'm looking at? Pollinate each other into these different genres.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely not easy to keep track of all the different esports communities. I'm still, admittedly, I'm still not great at it. I think there's only a few people in the scene who actually do a good job of actually keeping track of everything that goes on. And right now, I'm thinking about Slasher. I think he does a great job at keeping track of each game. But it's weird. It's like there's no central place for all of esports. So you have to go to Reddit StarCraft, you got to go to KDRID, or you got to go to ESFI World for news, or you have to go to Gosu Gamers, or everything is just so spread apart, and it's tough to keep track of it all. And it's also like you have to be so in depth in some of these communities to understand what's going on. And I definitely, by myself, I think it's tough. I think at the end of the year, I'd hope to have more people on my team who had like specialized in certain games, and that's my goal for the channel, is to have. So this guy over here, he specializes in fighting games. This guy over here specializes in League and StarCraft. So that's a personal goal for the channel for me. But I'd say to the original question was about just esports in general, or like where to find it all. Was that the question?
What advice could you give to kind of help pollinate these gamers so that they can, I guess, cross pollination is the question. What advice? What can we do better even to get people interested in this genre? How can we grow things like MachinimaVS, an idea where we have all this content in one place, grow some I guess you could say general sports fans instead of just fans of baseball, if that was to give an analogy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm thinking about like right now what's going on with the NSAL Season 3 thing in GameSpot right now, and all the casual gamers are just bashing the hell out of the article, and it's like, you're exposing competitive gaming to casual gamers, but like they're still so dense in the head about, oh, these are all just fat nerds sitting in their mother's basements and they're just doing nothing with their lives. So it's definitely discouraging still seeing stuff like that. And it's the year 2012, and I thought we were past it, but I mean, you're always gonna like run into that kind of stuff. But I would honestly, I don't know. If I knew the answer to that question, I would tell you, but I truly don't know. Other than like trying to reach out to different communities and kind of say, hey, check out this, and getting more people involved, maybe.
It's funny you mention all that stuff, because I was talking to someone just the other day, and this goes something back to a little bit that Aspa said about feedback. But to me, the person who tells me that I suck or I'm doing something horrible, those are generally the people that I'll reach out to and talk to and say, hey, what could I have done better? And over a period of time, you'll get, by getting to talking to people, you get to separate for those people who are basically trolls and essentially will offer you nothing positive. In other words, they're competing with you in some way. They have another YouTube channel. They, in our case, they'll be in another team or organization, and they'll clearly have an agenda that in some ways, isn't helpful. But to the person who's just randomly out there in the world, who gives their opinion without any hesitation, sometimes we call them forum trolls, or, oh my God, they're always on this forum. But sometimes if you pull them aside and you say, hey, I really appreciate your comment, what do you think I could do better? You would be surprised how different those people are behind sort of one-on-one, and how great it is to have somebody who is going to look at what you're doing with a critical eye and not give you that, yeah, looks good, or, oh, wow, that's cool, or that's fantastic, which really isn't constructive criticism at all, but just sort of, I was really too lazy to give this any thought, and I'm glad you're making a video, dude, but I really don't give a shit, right? So, like, find those people who are willing to tell you suck, and see if they're willing to help you. And if they're not, no big deal, right? At least you reached out to them. But if, and generally the ones who are purely trolling are looking for a reaction. And when you come to them and say, well, thank you so much. What could I do better? Help me out. They troll a little bit more, and then you're like, oh man, come on, are you sure? Or are we just messing with me? And then that's where the break happens. Some will start giving you real advice, and others will be like, skip it. I just wanted to troll you. So I think at the end of the day, it's real important to get good critics on your work that are not hesitant to tell you exactly what they think.
I totally agree. And reading through YouTube comments, I feel more dumb afterwards. Just like, does that really that someone actually thought of that and put that down? Like, no. And there's so many trolls.
It was today, something that struck me was, as what sort of prompted me to say, today's the day I would write my 5-year goodbye, is someone had come onto the vV website. And generally trolls always, so you get these sort of sneaky trolls, right? They're part of another team that in some way is threatened by what you're doing. And they come onto the website and they're like, so why did vV do this? And why did vV do this? And, you start explaining it, and I love those tough questions. Like, ask me why we did something. Give me one more reason to tell you my story. I am like, hallelujah, yes, right, thank you, right? Because that just reinforces exactly, our position and why we do these things. So, because otherwise, if you say nothing, all of a sudden people are going to come back and be like, so what is this about you and so-and-so's mother and how you guys had a fist fight in the parking lot? And you're like, what are you talking about, right? And then you're like, wow, that's really cool. But no, I don't even know the kid's mom. What are you talking about? So that kind of stuff, I think those people, I've found that some of the people who started out as a sort of didn't like vV gaming, heard bad things about it, came to troll, but then you sort of engage them, all of a sudden can sometimes become a best friend or a great partner in whatever you're doing.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's dealing with them and then hoping they progress and get into that actual giving you advice standpoint.
Yeah, and certainly not for you, because let's be honest, whenever, and I'm guessing here, but whenever you launch something like this, staff is always lean, and you've got about 9 million balls, I imagine, that you're sort of juggling right now, just trying to keep it moving, and probably progressing those who at least are doing a steady commitment, and making sure they're getting the resources and the help they need to keep producing what they're doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like it's just a constant juggle right now. You're launching the channel, and you're answering emails, and you're also planning events. I'm doing the script over there, and I'm also planning on when is this video going up, and I'm coordinating with our channel manager. There's a million things going on, and then oh shit, I should go look at the comments on this video. How is that being recepted? Yeah, it really is just like a juggle, but I like it though. I like being busy, so it's good and bad,
Sounds like it's
awesome. Jason, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like it's keeping you busy from when we started at the start of the episode to the start of the day, and now we're getting all these extra tasks that you hadn't mentioned.
Yeah, totally.
So, well, I mean, we've heard a little bit about the challenges that you've had, a little bit of, I guess you could say, the opportunities and content. You had mentioned a couple goals. What other goals does I guess you could say, the company see? And then you had a couple of your own personal ones for the channel. If you have any more, I'd love to hear them. Where would you like to see the channel, I guess, at this point next year is the other question.
Next year, that's a good question. Before I go into that, though, I think so we have Machinima Live, and I think working with Machinima Live and Fwiz over there, really close hand in hand, to do more stuff with streams and do maybe tournaments like we did the Frag Cup, and maybe we do more one-off tournaments like that. What else kind of stuff? Just being more involved in the live space and working hand in hand with them, because let's be real, esports and live, it's just goes hand in hand. It's symmetry. So I think working closer with live on stuff definitely will happen. As goals for the channel, I don't know about numbers wise or anything like that, but I think just to become the go-to spot for esports content, whether it be tips, tutorials, interviews, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not trying to be to cover esports like an ESFI like that in depth, maybe down the road or something like that. But I think more for content. So if you want to learn from the best, you're going to go to this website, and I think that's or network. I think that's kind of the goal for the channel, to be that go-to spot for next year or in general.
Awesome, very cool. I think we actually have a Kurt joining us finally. I think that he.
What's going on, dude?
That we do. What's up, guys?
How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Zach?
Very good. Very good.
Oh, well, welcome to the show. A little late, but that's okay. That's totally.
Oh, I know
what
it was. Kurt was like, "Oh, this is going to be Jerry's last show, so I'm going to show up fashionably late." That's how it is, Kurt. I know. I understand. It's fine. You've got to have.
Who cares?
You know what?
Jerry? Who cares about that guy? He's leaving.
Give me. What players can I come take from you?
Yeah. Please don't go there.
All right. Anyway, so welcome to the show.
Yeah, man, welcome.
So just any questions for Zach since you're here, Kurt? Do you mind to?
I do, but if you'll give me just a few moments, let me get sort of notes and all that stuff pulled up. Yeah.
No problem.
I don't want to ask the same question you guys did, so you guys will carry on for just a moment.
No, don't worry. I'll cut you off right away if you ask the same question.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we were just talking about how they had all these Counter-Strike videos on the MachinimaVS channel, and then you just popped it. No, I'm actually kidding. We haven't talked about that horrible game. But
of course you haven't talked about it.
Hey, we do have CS
I don't see any Guitar Hero on there yet, so
that won't be happening. So.
Oh,
sorry
shot through
that.
the heart. Yeah.
Really,
Jason, you're the Guitar Hero fan, correct?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Sorry.
Fan is.
I mean, yeah. I'm sorry.
That's wow.
He just says sorry. I like this guy more and more. All right. Yeah. So
Well,
I suppose I do have a few questions.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm incredibly
Wait, that didn't
excited.
take long, did it? Oh, give me a few seconds. You know what? Come to think of it, I have a few questions. Now that we were talking about Counter-Strike, sort of jogged my memory back to eSports on. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just mention that fantastic game, and I'm back in esports mode, so don't worry. No, I do have a few questions. First off, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about Machinima and the history and things like that, and I'm sure they've covered some of that. But so I I didn't quite realize when I first heard about this how big of a deal it was going to be, and after learning a little bit about you guys and learning just how well you're doing, and doing some research and stuff like that, I think I did figure out how big of a deal it is, and I'm incredibly excited about it. Number one. I suppose a first few of my questions. I mean, we see some people getting into esports as sort of a gimmick now. We see, a bunch of, whether it be developers, whether it be, whether it be publishers is what I meant to say, or whether it be, social sites or anything like that, news sites getting into esports now as sort of a gimmick or sort of like this popularity thing and then dipping out. How vested are you guys into this? Like, how much has Machinima really put towards this new MachinimaVS brand kind of thing?
We're not going anywhere anytime soon. So right now, I mean, the channel has right under 7,000 subs, but we've got a lot of plans for esports and being more involved in that space. And this is just the beginning, just the launch of this channel. But we are going to be doing more kind of maybe one-off tournaments, like I was saying earlier, like the Frag Cup, where we do a $10,000 tournament for Call of Duty. Maybe we do that with more titles, stuff like that. Just one-off type stuff. We will be going to the events and we will be doing coverage, and we've already started doing that. But we're not. This is not like an experiment or a test for Machinima. They're fully behind this, and we've got. I know Fwiz already has some crazy plans for next year, and I'm going to be sitting down with him soon, and we're going to be planning out some nutty things for next year. And I'm really excited. So just to answer your question though, we're fully vested in this space.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, especially quote unquote us Counter Strikers, are have been worried in the past about people coming in and just dipping out as the first sort of hint of any downfall. So it's really good to know. Can you maybe just describe one thing that I do find interesting is the idea of someone being able to start something out of nothing. If you understand what I mean by that. For instance, whether it be, a journalist who wants to get his, sort of information, get his videos out there to people or things like that, an esports journalist, or whether it be a team, or anything like that. I'm all about, whether it be teams, whether it be journalists or anything like that, making more money in this space. And is MachinimaVS going to really have... Oh, you're good.
You're good. Sorry.
Okay. Does MachinimaVS, do you think we might see some ways of people making more money like that? Like, I do see, number one, you guys have partnered with Quantic,
yep.
Which I'm not privy to the details of that by any means, but I am curious if we'll see more of that happening from not just teams, but maybe independent journalists or news websites or anything like that, where we'll start to see them making money off of their content.
I mean, that's how people do make money on our network with the CPM and whatnot, where people will make X amount of dollars per 1,000 views. But are you talking more to a sponsorship, or more towards ordered content where you say, hey, we'll give you $50 for this or that, or?
I would say both. I mean, really, any way in which a new team or a new news website or an independent person makes would potentially make money off of this new thing. So whether, like you said, either one.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're a director on our channel, it depends what we've agreed to, but you're making X amount of dollars per 1,000 views on the channel, and then you're getting a check or going to your PayPal every month for what your videos have done on the network. And then we also are exploring ordered content and stuff in that realm. And then earlier I was saying we did the deal with Quantic, and we are looking to also expand that maybe to more teams and maybe players, and who knows. We definitely are interested in that kind of space as well.
Gotcha. How would just a generic team really, what would a generic team bring to MachinimaVS? Would it just be the content in which the team provides, or would it be the exposure which the team provides? Which one is more important to you guys right now? I mean, Machinima has never lacked content by any means, but what is the bread and butter there in the sense of supporting a team?
Right now, I'd say it's definitely the content. If they're providing good content, but maybe they're not the best players or whatever, I think I lean more towards the content, because we're still trying to build the channel. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, maybe they have great exposure or whatever, but like if the exposure is driving people back to the channel and there's not much content, what's it all for? So I would say definitely content over exposure. In the case of the Quantic deal, I think both exposure and content are there, and like I said, I can't be more. I'm very pleased with that deal.
Cool, good. Last question, then I'm gonna pass it back to Jason and Jerry for just a little bit. What do you guys plan on doing with tournaments? And do you have any in this space? It is increasingly political. I hope you understand that it is a very political space, unfortunately. So
well aware.
You've got some people you can deal with, some people you can't deal with, and if you deal with some people, then you can't deal with other people, and it's hectic. So I want to know if there's any restrictions in there in which you guys personally deal with, whether it be tournaments, whether it be news websites, whether it be Team Liquid or something like that. Do you guys have any restrictions currently right now, or are you talking to absolutely everyone?
I'm not outlawing anything right now, to be honest with you. You can almost look at us like as like a ESPN Sports Center. We try to cover it. We try to cover each game equally, each team equally. We're not banning anybody or anything like that. What was the rest of the question? Space out a little bit.
I mean, you basically understood it. I'm just wondering if you, just for instance, if you.
You asked about leagues too. If we're starting a league or like dealing with leagues, or if we are
dealing with leagues. Yeah, like dealing with leagues. So is there any potential sort of conflict, I guess, there in dealing with any certain league or a different league or something like that, whether it be MLG, IPL or GSL and anything like that? I mean, is there any sort of conflict there for you guys?
No, I think we're on pretty good terms with just about everybody out there. Maybe IGN, but I mean, I don't know. I personally don't have any issues, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. I think that's right.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, I'm gonna pass it back to you for just a little bit, buddy.
I can't believe you actually took my last question. I was just gonna ask about the leagues, but that's cool. It's all good. I understand, because I'm sure that Jerry has a backup ready and waiting to fire off.
Yeah, I do. I got a couple things here. I mean, now that Kirk got into the who you competing with, and who do you hate, and I mean, to me, to be honest, I don't know why, but I'm disinterested. Like, here's my whole theory, right? I honestly don't give a shit if it's Comedy Central, or I'm not too concerned about the network. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm concerned about the quality of the content, right? If I like a show, I will go to whoever has enough sense to sign and produce that show, right? So for Jerry, it's Comedy Central for like Colbert and Daily Show, right? I'm just a longtime fan of those shows, and because of it, I like Comedy Central, right? I like Bill Maher and HBO, for example, right? So I mean, probably almost anything HBO touches, they're probably a bad example, because I think they're really talented and seem to have some kind of bizarre magic surrounding their network. But I mean, if you look at what I think is most important, and what I think anyone's challenge is finding those partners who are going to entertain audiences consistently. And no matter what, I think everyone is sort of going to be looking for that. And I think at the end of the day, if you find that, Zach, like, I think a lot of people come to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and they'd tell me, how much does Machinima pay? And I said, that's the last thing you should worry about. Go to Machinima, do something really awesome, and you'll be surprised the doors you'll open for yourself. And I'm not saying that you're going to give them more money, but don't even nod. This is blank face time. But you're going to give them more money, because eventually that contract's going to expire, and they're going to go walk over to your competitor. So I tell young people, do good content and get people addicted to you, because if you do that, they will want to keep working with you, and you can write your own ticket to both be very successful as a brand yourself, but more importantly, make your partners very, very happy, and most importantly, their partners. That's what I think is the most important thing. And to a lot of people out there who, I think want to break into this space, and this is where, Zach, I'd love to get your opinion. I think the stuff that's already been done has been already done. I think really, we are looking for people to be new and innovative. There is an eSports show right now that no one has thought of, that will be a big hit, that will all look and bump our heads and go, why didn't we think of that? And if you're one of those people out there who has that idea right now, talk to Zach. Pitch your show to him. Tell him what you want to do. He will listen. Is that not right, Zach? You will listen to people and their ideas?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, just hit me up on Twitter, like anywhere you can find me. Just say, hey, can I have your email, and I will DM you or anything like that. I'm open to literally anything. I'd like to think I'm very reachable. I'm on Skype 9 hours a day at least, and I'm always down to talk. So just hit me up for sure.
Jerry, if I can interrupt here for just 1 second, and then I'll get right back to you. I just want to speak on that real quick, because that's sort of what I was getting to earlier, was that we see a lot of people right now talking about, and I say a lot of people, but really I'm specifically talking about Chobo Peon right now. He posted on Reddit about doing this sort of independent journalism thing, where it's like he's not tied to anyone else. And I get that he can do that on his own. Like, you could, just like anyone else, you can make popular content. And if the content becomes really popular, you can become a publisher. And publisher, you make money off of that. But that's also a little bit, you have to, you stick your neck out probably a little bit more than he should have to, if he has something already guaranteed and set up. And I feel like he's not the only one that wants to do this by any means. Like, so I feel like if people are given that opportunity to make something unique and sort of completely independent, that MachinimaVS, or at least something like it, would be absolutely perfect for that, because you guys don't have to have any ties in that aspect, because you're not the ones that are actually creating that particular content.
It's funny you mentioned that. Actually, Patrick reached out to me a week or two ago about Good. Yeah, he reached out to me about potentially having some of this content on the channel, and the first thing he said to me was like, are you guys worried about pissing people off? And I was like, well, it's not technically our view, it's your view, and I'm personally not. I'm not worried about it. It's not like we're going on our in-house show and saying X player is a dumbass or whatever. That would be Patrick doing that. So, if it's good news, if it's good coverage, and it's revealing any truths, which a lot of people will argue that who's covering up any truths, and that's a whole nother debate. But if it's good coverage and it's something new and innovative, I'm all for it.
Good. Yeah, I think something like that is a perfect fit. So I hope he definitely follows through with it. So, yeah. Jerry, back to you, buddy. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's good. So let's make that clear. That I want to reiterate: anyone can reach out to Zach on Twitter, get his email, ask me for his email. I'll give it to you. Go reach out to Zach and let him know what your idea is. Right? This is a great opportunity for you. And my advice: every contract has a time. So even if you do it for 1 year, it may sound like a long time. We've been doing this podcast show coming on our 3 years now. Time goes on, and if it's not a good deal for you or you don't get what you want, you can move on. But I think if Zach is interested in your show, you definitely should give it a look. And here's a person who's really accessible that has to decide very strategically what content they're going to put on their channel. In the worst case, if Zach says no, he may accidentally or directly tell you why no, and you'll learn something from the conversation. Yeah.
As you were saying too, you said you'd be tied into a year or whatever. Their contracts on Versus are different from our network, so you can break the contract at any time, basically. So if you're saying this is not for me, you can leave at any time. So you're not obligated for anything. So if you want to give something a shot with us and you're like, I don't like it over here, you're fine.
Cool.
Well, there you go. Now it's even a great deal. So I encourage, look, when I watch eSports shows, I want to be entertained. Please entertain me. If you've got a good idea, let Zach know. There's always space for more entertaining stuff. All right, Jason, back to you.
Yeah, most definitely. I know that you're still at the office, which means that we should probably be wrapping up with you really shortly, because I know that you got to be getting home rather shortly.
I'm going to go sit in LA traffic, so that's about it. But Jerry, you can look forward to that.
No, sir. West of the 405, either in Santa Monica or Marina Del Rey. Not a chance. That was one thing that was one of my first questions was, I'm living west of the 405. And one of the things they said back to me was, we insist on it, and we were done. We signed right there, and I was like, the rest, the job title, the description, that didn't matter, because the deal breaker for me was, if you thought I was going to hunt down a place to live in West Hollywood, no, not going to happen, right? Although some good bars in West Hollywood on a bad Saturday night, but outside of that, I mean, there's no way I'm going to fight LA traffic. It defeats the purpose of moving out of Chicago.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I know that one of the real great opportunities for anybody looking to work in esports is coming out to the LA area. Twitch is there, Machinima is there, a lot of great development companies are there, from Blizzard to Riot. It's where all exciting things, it's the place where I feel that developers that get esports kind of live, and obviously a lot of the support structure is there, so I think it's a place where, just like those, maybe not so much today, but there was a time if you really wanted to work in the film and entertainment business, Hollywood, LA area was the place to live, and I think we're seeing something very similar in the video game field, just because of the creative talent needed to produce what some of these companies are producing. So, go west, young man, they say.
Exactly.
Having been to California twice now in the past month, I can, one, attest to the traffic. Oh my God, that is gross. And two, just the amount of talent that we do have out there is really incredible. So before we do let you go, though, MioFF, as that we've been talking all about Machinima, things like that, I want to give at least you the floor to give any shout outs. And also, I do kind of want to wrap up by saying, what is the next step? What is the very if you're to talk about the near future, the next coming weeks, what are your plans, I guess, is the thing that we should be looking forward to? Maybe let's say the next coming month or so, things that we should look forward to, and any maybe things that are right around the corner that we can prepare for MachinimaVS. And afterwards, please give your shout outs.
For sure. So I think the next month or two is all going to be focused on MLG Rally, and then also PAX Prime. PAX will have the $1 million Dota 2 tournament, and they will have, I believe, the Season 2 League of Legends tournament as well. So we're going to be going to those tournaments, and we will have coverage there. For that, though, I mean, it's like I said, I'm just trying to ramp up coverage, ramp up content on the channel, and that's all I'm trying to do is just build the channel and have more and more content on it. So that's what you can expect out of me personally. But other than that, yeah, it's just that those events coming up, and we will have a camera crew there. We will be doing exclusive interviews and whatnot. As for shout-outs, I'm trying to think. I think big shout-out to Fwiz. Fwiz actually got me out here. He was the one who kind of hired me, and he has helped me a lot with this whole process and kind of getting things going and off the floor. So definitely a big shout-out to him.
Zach, when you see Fwiz, please tell him that we haven't played CSGO lately, and I'm feeling kind of hurt.
I will. I will. I'll let him know tomorrow morning.
I've got to destroy some faces with it.
Zach, hold on. I think you should just be honest with Kurt.
No?
Look, I'm going to help out. Kurt, sometimes when a girl doesn't return your phone call, she's trying to send you a message, right? And I'm just trying to make this clear. Right?
I
don't even make content.
I don't know the last time Fwiz played CSGO, though, to be honest with you. He's been playing a lot of StarCraft.
No, see, that's his problem right there.
Yeah,
that's his problem.
Well, I mean, at least you're not playing Guitar Hero.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, nice.
Smack him down.
Zing! Yeah.
This is when I.
But now we get to say things at least like he's not playing League of Legends. Isn't that right, Jerry? Isn't that right? Oh, look, quiet. Just quiet.
No, I have not playing anything.
You know what? It's really easy to pick on one of the. It's really easy to pick on the popular game. It's really. Everyone's always bitter about the popular girl.
Yeah. The popular girl at the school always gets a little bit of teasing.
They're always like, oh, we hate her. You roll down the street, you roll down your window, you take change out of the tray, you throw it at her, screaming "whore!" I've seen it all before, Kurt. I've seen it all before. I really have.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah.
Yeah, Zach. Number one, I just want to say I really look forward to the future of this. One thing that I really find when any new company comes out, whether it be a division of a company like IPL, or whether it be something you guys are doing or anything like that, I look at the fact that you guys are doing your research and like your the little things, to be completely honest. For instance, looking at your Twitter, I love the fact that you have everyone that you're mentioning mentioned on Twitter. So you know they have a Twitter, you know their Twitter handle, and you include them in the Twitter. I like stupid things like that because
I think that's so huge though. Like, even I know we had some, like, someone would putting like a spelling error of somebody's name, or like something would be like uppercase when it should be lowercase. And it's like, it's really not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but like if you're in the esports community and you don't put that uppercase K in Huck's name, then you're a joke. Like, you're an absolute joke.
And it's always
I'm not going to watch your content. So
it's always been like that. If you didn't include that A after fraud, you were done.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
So vVv is the same way.
Gotta have that. Gotta say that all
have that middle.
It's not us, but
you gotta have that middle capital B. It's the same way, man. It's
so when we see uppercase, lowercase, uppercase. Love that.
That's another one of my favorite ones. Yeah. Can I represent uppercase, lowercase, uppercase vVv?
I like it.
Respond. Who's that?
I liken it a lot to casters. This is my pet peeve. I hate casters, especially full-time casters, who don't remember what team a player is on. That bugs me so much. I had a few problems with that where it's like, what team is that guy on? I'm like, you got one or two jobs.
You're getting paid for this.
That Tom Brady guy, he's playing for the Eagles, right? I mean,
it's like you've got one or two jobs here. You know the game. You're supposed to know the players. That's your only fucking job. Anyway, okay.
All right, you're done with your complaining. One last question for Zach. Do you plan on doing anything related to tournaments or events? I noticed early on you talked, and we've been so focused on content. Let's say somebody wants to run a tournament and either stream it or have all the tournament footage somewhere. Is that interest you because it's kind of a one-off, or are you strictly looking for regular scheduled content? Is that even in the possibility for you?
I think we're definitely going to be interested in maybe covering events or streaming events, but I think that's down the road. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be like a league or anything like that. That's crazy, but I think like one-off tournaments that we produce maybe out of our own studio. We fly in 2 teams or something to like battle out the finals, and before that they were playing in like the 360 Icons bracket or Beyond Gaming or something. Stuff like that. I think we're definitely interested in. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, like this channel and the opportunities that are coming. I mean, it's still so early, and it's we're going to be doing a bunch of different things next year, obviously. But I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't want to limit anything.
All right. Zach, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on, even if you were bitch-smacking me a couple times for my love of Guitar Hero. It's totally cool. I hold no grudges whatsoever.
Bring him back on the show next week.
Thank God, or else he'd hit you with the plastic guitar. Woo!
That's damn right. At least I've got something bigger and stronger than a mouse or something. Shut up. No, okay. Pleasure having you on.
Look around.
That's it, man. You can have like the mouse.
I'm pretty sure those SteelSeries keyboards have like a steel backplate. So
they do.
They are like
you do not want to mess with the SteelSeries keyboard. That's not even a joke. Drop one on your toe. There's my advice. Drop it and see. Test it.
That's a really nice.
That cannot feel good.
I was just going to say, that's a great little insight. Like, go drop that on your toe. I like that. Zach, pleasure having you on the show, my friend. Hopefully we'll get you back on the show after we come back from our little hiatus that we're looking to take after this episode. But in the meantime, once again, best of luck with MachinimaVS. We look forward to seeing how it grows, and you travel home safely tonight, all right?
Thank you guys so much, and it was a pleasure being on the show and Jerry's last show for a while or whatever it is, so I really appreciate it, guys.
I'll see you soon, Zach.
For sure, Jerry.
Take
care. Later.
Bye-bye.
Take care, buddy.
All right, so interview over with, and we still have quite a bit to talk about. Jerry, since this is going to be, I guess you could kind of say a wrap-up show for a little bit of a while until we figure out exactly what we're going to be doing in the future. I would love to go over a little bit of, I guess you could say, like controversial topics, things like that, kind of just talk about things that everybody's kind of been wanting to hear about. And who knows, maybe if I can prod you enough, I want to maybe see if I can poke the bear and get a little bit of a last roar before you trot off
it sounds like I'm dead. Oh, look at the big bear sitting there on the rock. Let's poke a stick at him. Will he give us a lazy growl, or will he give us one last gnashing of the teeth before he falls listlessly into the ocean, drowned by the very salmon he normally fed upon? Yes, thank you. That's a great picture. Thank you for painting it. But yeah.
I actually really enjoyed that. What the hell are you
No
talking
problem. No problem at all.
Right?
Well, let's take our commercial. We'll come back. We'll cover the news, and here's what I'm going to do. I've got a lot of requests on Twitter. I'm going to talk about probably first and foremost why I never molested Carsons. I'm going to talk about my favorite Alabama hick, Exodus, and the Nero story. You're going to want to not miss the Nero story. I'm going to talk about my boy Rob Z. God from emo to excellent, and then I'm probably going to have to cover some serious stuff too, like the bigger question of the future of fighting games as it relates to esports. I think G-Spox asked a good question. I want to cover it. I've had so many, oh my God, Jesus. You know what? If you get dropped, you should do things to make someone regret dropping you. This is very, very much not how I feel. But again, I'm not going to be making those decisions for VV Gaming in the future. But I got a lot of great stuff on Twitter I'll talk about. Let's cover the news. We'll talk about the Summer Arena, which is upcoming. I think that's big news. We got StarCraft news. We got some League of Legends news. We got there's news. There is news. So cover the news. We'll talk a little bit about Guild Wars 2, and we'll talk a little bit about League, StarCraft, and then I'll get to some of these. And if you want to do open calls, let's do it. We got another hour, and then we're done. So let's go to commercial, come back, and let's wrap up this next hour.
We'll be right back. And we are back for Losers Bracket, round 122, back with my normal co-host. Now that, Kurt is so nice to have joined us for, when we're supposed to be starting. Got Lord Jareth, got Kurt, and we're going to get into a little bit of the news for the week. And actually start things off a little bit with what I was doing over in California over the last week. I actually worked a little bit with the IGN Pro League, an event that was run at San Diego Comic-Con. We ran some Gran Turismo for the Gran Turismo Academy done with Nissan. Really interesting little event. They actually flew out the top 32 competitors for this game. We actually ran a tournament where we whittled it down to 16 players who are all going to get flown over to the UK to train to become real race car drivers, where one person at the end will win and actually race in a real race. So really interesting to see that come about. Good to see someone like Nissan doing something in the world of esports. I really am looking forward to seeing Spike TV November later this year. They'll be running the show, so you'll actually be able to tune in and see what we were up to at San Diego Comic-Con this past week. I would definitely check it out. Pretty cool stuff. It's really interesting. I didn't even know that Gran Turismo had a spectator mode in it, but it did, which is pretty cool. So with that being said, Jerry, I think we're going to cover a little bit of the news. What should we start out with?
Well, I think since this is going to be the last show for a while, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to make a little decision here, and we're going to say, screw the news. We're going to talk about a couple subjects, and we'll call this my things that bother me subject. That's what we're gonna be, things that fucking bother me. And that way, there's a chance somewhere in here I'm gonna rant. So that's what we're gonna cover tonight. But before I get to that part, I want to talk a little bit about something that is interesting. It hasn't gotten my ire, but I think it's something we should talk about. The idea of independence in esports journalism. It's come up a lot in various places. I've seen it on Reddit. I think Kurt will talk a little bit more in detail about the Reddit post, that was sort of Chobo Peon put it up, and then, Hotbit sort of commented. And I think that there is some real good topics worth hitting. And you know what? I've got a few things to say, and I'm going to say it. So, Kurt, I'm going to let you start out, because this goes back about a week ago. Give everybody an update as to what was sort of posted and what's been commented on and where we're at.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the whole sort of section was framed on the back of what was deemed by Gwyn, who was worked at the GSL, and he had said some topics that were concerning about the GSL event that happened a few weeks ago, right after Anaheim, mainly pertaining to sponsors requiring or requesting a particular caster, and then taking some of the budget that he was expecting to use for other casters and being forced to use it on those casters. It was later deemed by ESFI, according to ESFI, that some of those things were very exaggerated, that it wasn't as bad as we thought. But either way, people were very confused by this, because this is another one of those topics that would have never came up if it wouldn't have been for one person that said, "Hey, I'm done with esports. I worry I can't say this if I want to continue in esports, and I don't want to continue in esports, so I'm just going to say my thoughts." So people were very concerned by that. People were like, well, if this guy has one topic that he is sharing and that he couldn't have shared before, then there's got to be some stuff that we're
Tell
not
everybody
hearing.
exactly what you're referring to for those who don't know. What was being said?
So Gwyn basically just came out. He was on the Climbing the Ladder show, which I've done in the past. I don't know if you did it or not in the past.
Yeah, I've done the Climbing the Ladder, yep.
Very interesting show, but he came on, he was talking about the GSL and some of its downfalls and some of its good things as well. And he basically released that, according to him, and this is, once again, I'm trying to become as unbiased as possible here. According to him, some things that had happened with the GSL budget, he didn't agree with. According to him, he was supposed to be the one that was running the budget and sort of picking the casters into the budget. So he had chosen casters. Most of them were not getting paid. Their flight there and really anything while they're there much. So he was keeping down on everything. That way, I think he felt like he could maybe afford another caster if he wanted so, actually be able to get a bigger name caster. But they had lost Destiny at the end, one of the casters in which was referenced by someone. Destiny was supposed to be casting. They then lost Destiny. So Kingston, one of the sponsors, who's also a sponsor of Team EG, came in and they said, well, and this is just according to Gwen, we've got a caster here who works for EG by the name of Azael, who is willing to cast GSL. You just got to fly him out there and pay him some money to cast it or anything like that. And they told that to Gigabyte. They didn't tell that to GSL. They told that directly to Gigabyte. But then once Gigabyte got the word of it, they then formally requested him specifically to be a caster for the event. And he was sort of pushed on Gwen, and he wasn't allowed to make the choice there, and he had to spend a decent amount of the budget to do that. This is all just according to him. And that's something that was not kosher with him. That was he felt like it was being pushed from Kingston because of their relations there.
So long story short, somebody comes out and says, look, I've had this problem dealing with this challenge, and now this brings up this so let's get now to how Chobo gets into this and what his post is about and what the conversation is. So
Chobo has worked a lot in esports before, so he, like many of us, I'm sure, has heard many stories in which can't necessarily hit the public's eye for one reason or the ears for one reason or another, because of the fact that it would damage a league or it would damage a team or it would damage something, or even good stories for that matter that you can't share for one reason or another as well. And this was one of those times that if Gwen had not released this, then no one would have ever known about it. So people felt like there was something there that needs to be heard. There's more stories there that need to be heard, and I agree. There are more stories that need to be heard. So I talked to Chobo before he made the post. Quite a few other people talked to Chobo before he made the post, and then he made a post on Reddit going, "Hey, what I would like to propose is something that's completely independent, where I don't work for a league, I don't work for a team, I work for you guys, I work for the community." And he was going to go about this by doing a Kickstarter for the original amount of money to get everything set up, which was, I think, $6,000. I could be wrong.
$6,000.
Yes, so, which was originally $6,000, and then once he got that money, he was then going to be, and that was just to produce the pilot episode. So I think it's the first 10 episodes, something like that.
Got it. So I want to keep this moving along. So Chobopian wants to start an independent show, and he's going to use Kickstarter to do it. What's the controversy?
The controversy came out about the fact that, number one, he wanted to do it. Some people agreed with it. He got, I think, like $1,500 or so in donations. But a lot of people were sort of just thinking that he was riding on the back of the independent journalism thing, and it really wasn't meaning anything. So a bunch of people posted that, hey, there's really, it sounds like a good idea in theory, but there's nothing really hiding. There's no stories that people need to hear that they're not already hearing. There's not enough stories out there for people to cover to where it would make actual good content. So that was really, and a lot of people said that. Hotbid said that from Team Liquid. I think you had one of the EG guys. I'm not sure if it was Colin or Scoots. I don't remember which. I apologize. But a bunch of people come in and say, "Hey, there's just not enough content out there that needs to be told to people. There's not enough investigative, stories that need to be investigated into out there." And a lot of people disagree. I personally disagree. And that was really the controversy. And Chobo really got tore up pretty bad for doing it, just because of the fact that all these people were coming out, all these big figureheads, and saying, "Hey, good luck to you," but there's no fucking sense in doing it. So a lot of people really shit on him for the entire idea. They also thought that he was, sort of playing, I guess, with their emotions in that sense, just because of the GESL thing. When in fact, whether it was that or not, it's up to everyone else to think. But
well, I mean, I don't see all that. See, this is the thing that upsets me about the whole thing, is that Chobo PN, I believe, has the right intention, right? He just wants to say that I don't want there to be bullshit in esports. Now, the sad part is that there's bullshit in esports, right? That's the real sad part. Most of these people, to be honest, whether it's from EG or Complexity or anybody who's involved with sponsors, taking their dollars, doing things, this whole thing is a shady talent agency scheme from the get-go. And I'm just going to say the bottom line is that the one critique of Chobopian that I agree with is that he's going to have difficulty getting the bottom line story. I think it's a challenge for anybody, and whether you're independent or not. I mean, everybody out there wants to spin their own news because they have money on the line and sponsor relations on the line. That's human nature. So I don't think that, I think it's silly to, I think it's great to support Chobopian and say good luck. If they mean well in advising to him that this is sort of a fool's errand, that you're not really going to get much juicy details anyways, so not sure what there is to cover, right? Most organizations keep their stuff close to their heart. I guess we could all say, I hope you do this and I hope you do this well. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of idealism on Chobo's side, but I don't think at the end of the day it's going to amount to there really being any great breaking news scandals. So at the end of the day, I think this whole debate's kind of silly, right? Like on one side, why does it bother any of you that Chobo wants to be an independent journalist and wants to try to do this? Shut your mouth. It can't hurt. On the other side, Chobo shouldn't be surprised other people are saying, look, I don't know what scandals you're going to uncover. I don't see this being anything that's dramatic. So I kind of see both sides, but at the end of the day, let the guy do it. I mean, what's the point, right? What's the point of saying, I mean, look, by now it's pretty public, that when we broke the Team Liquid asking MLG for money for their first arena, the Team Liquid went into damage control mode. I'm a liar. I'm trying to get views. All that crap from Hotbit and crew. It's like, I looked at them and I thought, really? Like, you really think I have to make something up to get attention? So that really turned me off to the whole Team Liquid leadership, the management. I even went out of my way to sort of give them the olive branch, and then Team Liquid came back and said, sorry, we're not going to deal with you. And I thought, you're a kid. Like, get out of here. Who the fuck are you? Right? But, that's cool, right? You just graduated law school. Here's your fucking pin. But I at the end of the day, I thought, they don't want the truth out, right? Not because that they were necessarily doing something evil. You have to understand, these are very young people who image makes them very scared. And as soon as you point out their faults, oh my God, the excuses, right? It's like, but nothing, right? Nobody wants to hear your but. You either did or do not ask MLG for a sum of money. Yes. Okay, then it's done. But it wasn't 10,000. All right, it was almost 10,000. but you said 10,000. Look, that's not the fucking point. The dollar amount doesn't matter, and you know it. If you're going to call me a liar for the dollar amount because I said 10,000 instead of almost 10,000, yeah, I'll take that hit. But let's face facts, that was not in the discussion we were having. So to Chobo's point, you do need somebody to go in there and sort of do that hard-hitting kind of stuff. And I think someone like Slasher, for example, we talked about him earlier, I think Slasher tries to some degree, right? We don't know the details about his relationship with GameStop and what he can and cannot say. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to spin their story the way they see fit. And it's our job to sort of be thoughtful when we go through it. The problem is that thoughtful analysis is becoming a lost art. I mean, even in mainstream media, look at HBO. Why did they do the newsroom, right? Why did Sorkin write the newsroom? It's because there's this real challenge in modern mainstream professional journalism in being unbiased and really focusing on it. And that doesn't make it okay, right? There's a real need for honest, good journalism. And if Chobo wants to do that, he's going to get my support. There may not be that many stories worth uncovering, but it sure would be nice to have someone objectively break the news when it happens. So I think we all should be supportive of that. And I think, like I said, I do get the sort of idea that, look, there's not going to be that much. I think it's a fool's errand. But you know what? Let Chobo decide that. Don't need Hotbit and everybody else coming in there going, no, we don't need, this is silly. Why would you do this? Why don't you shut up and let him lead his life? Nobody, if he wanted your daddy a fucking opinion, he would have wrote you a nice email that went and said, Dear Hotbit, please advise me on my career. That's not what he was looking for. He was saying, hey, look, I want to do this. I think it's a good idea. Can I do it? Well, in that case right there, then by all means, be supportive. So my position, I'm supportive. Do I think it'll work? I'm skeptical, but the idea is a noble one and I think worth backing.
I can't agree with you more. It's really funny because there was a thread made on Reddit, actually on the same day, I believe, as the Chobo Peon independent esports journalism Kickstarter that got posted on Reddit StarCraft. That was written, it was, I believe, by someone just using a throwaway account called ESFI is not as independent as you think it is. And it basically just listed all these different things that they said, well, this is the reason why ESFI isn't as independent, and they have ties to complexity like this, and they're friends with EG on staff of this, and they have more of a bias from this, this, and this. And it was funny because it got downvoted to oblivion. But it had all these different links with, what they called their proof, and it ended up with less than a 50% like rate. But,
yeah,
the fact that that's even there.
Yeah, that particular story's been around for a long time, and it is, most of it is bullshit. It is, at one point in time, ESFI was the partner with the Jason Bass at the time and stuff like that. That's not so much anymore. At one point in time, they ran creative ads, which a lot of people said had hurt their intention sort of in esports. But number one, they don't do that any of that anymore. So like that particular thing is out the window
again. And here's the other thing to that.
But just 1 second though. The main point really goes back to, like, people think that I'm calling them biased and that's an insult. It's not. I'm not calling you biased and saying that's an insult. I'm calling you biased because you have to be. Everyone has to be to a point. We have to be biased to a point. Like, it's just the God's honest truth. There are some things, a lot of things that I can't say, that Jerry can't say, that Jason can't say. That is how it works. And because of that, because of the fact that we need the affiliations with MLG to be able to get press passes and go to their events and make sure we're kissing their ass thoroughly, that way we can potentially get partnered up with them for all kinds of goodies. And with IPL, it's the exact same way. And with NASL, it's the exact same way. And with Team Liquid, you can't say anything bad. At least I can't. I feel like I can't because of, the fact that, we want to get our players featured. And you look at ESFI. ESFI can't fuck with MLG. They can't fuck with teams, because if they fuck with teams, who's going to give them their player interviews that make up 60% of their business?
Well, here's the thing, right? But in all that being said, right, I think everybody's got to be sort of understand two things. There's relationship building, and again, you have to think long term. Not every little battle is worth fighting, right? So maybe somebody slightly spins something. I don't know, the whole fucking fighting game community flop, right? Everybody's got something negative to say about vVv. Okay. I'm going to fight with them. I'm going to go on forums and defend our decision, right? We made a decision to no longer support fighting games, right? We made that decision. It's like when a company drops a department, right? We're not going to offer that product line, or we're not going to offer that brand anymore, right? It's not in our interest anymore, right? So we make that decision. Do I feel I have to justify it? Well, I will. I will justify it because I know I'm dealing with a lot of people who have opinions. And let's sort of move on to that, because here's a prime example of covering the news, right? vVvGaming dropped its fighting game division, right? And I will tell you why we dropped the fighting game division, and you can choose to believe me or not, right? So let's walk through, that's what we'll do. We'll have a little exercise here. We'll deconstruct the news. All right, so I am about to transition to a new job, and I have to decide the state I want to leave vVvGaming in to staff, who is going to have to run what is going to be in my absence, right? And there are challenges. And looking at, okay, we go back with the fighting game division, the MLG event, somebody forgot their shirt. We let it go. Somebody didn't wear their shirt again. We let it go, right? CEO comes around. They forget their shirt. Jason's luckily there to give them shirts. It starts to get a little old, right? Then Rio pulls the, oh, I'm going to retire, and then I'm going to go play for Empire Arcadia. Do I care? No. Do I find it funny? Do I find it funny that Triforce sent me a thing going, you need to understand that when a player retires, they always have the option of getting back into esports. Like I need business lessons from fucking Tough Guy, right? So I let that go as well. This is of zero consequence to me, right? And then Evo, again, one person loses their shirt, then a second person loses their shirt. You know what? I don't want my staff to have to deal with that. So you know what? We're going to let the fighting game division go, period. That's what went into that decision. Now, does it mean that we didn't enjoy having them here? It was great to see them win. They did a fantastic job. But it's not a good fit for vVvGaming, and it's not something I want my staff to deal with at all, right? So I don't care if somebody thinks, oh, all this for a shirt? Yes, all this for a shirt. I don't care if somebody says, you made a stupid decision. Noted. I'm sure someone else will sponsor them, right? Someone else will have the time and dedicated resources to manage them wearing their shirts and not tweeting about being drunk the night and hope they can play and they should forfeit. Someone else can manage that. EG can manage it. Complexity can manage it. By all means, they can manage it. But that is not what vVvGaming is about and not what we want to do. So the decision was we're pulling the plug. Right? Now, I want to make something clear that through the course of that entire part, the one person who consistently delivered everything that they promised was a Soul Calibur 5 player, RTD. We had zero problems with RTD, and part of me wanted to keep RTD, but then when we looked at it, it didn't make business sense for us to keep Soul Calibur 5 and drop King of Fighters 13 and drop Mortal Kombat. So we said, you know what? The best thing to do is to drop all of it and not be involved in fighting game. Besides, the fighting game community doesn't seem very receptive. There was all, especially after the Triforce thing, and some people thought it was a haha joke. Yeah, Rio was okay, there's your haha joke. See ya, we don't need it, right? So that was sort of the end all, we're not going to play this game, right? And if VV staff, with me being gone, decides they want to go back in the fighting game community and they find fighters they want to sponsor, by all means, have at it. But that was a decision made by me, my sort of conversation with staff. I said, this is my position. We discussed it. We talked about it. We talked about the pros and cons. The cons of keeping the division seemed to outweigh the pros. It was a real tragedy to let RTD go since he was so phenomenal at what he did. And don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. CD Jr. brought his shirt to Evo, right? He gave it to Romance to wear, which was fine. But then his brother lost it. So again, it was like, you know what? We don't want to deal with this. So this isn't to say those players are bad or someone else couldn't manage them better. Someone might be able to. And if that gets translated into, oh, vVvGaming dropping them because they couldn't handle them, you're welcome to write that also. I'll gladly, right? Write whatever will make you happy. But at the end of the day, that's the kind of thinking that went around us dropping the fighting game division. And it's nothing like we hate the fighting game division. They have a lot to learn. No different than the Gears of War division when we started in 07. A lot to learn about esports, which I'd like to get to Juicebox Abel's question about the future of fighting games and esports.
Can I comment on?
By all means, ask challenging questions. Be the independent journalist. Tell me what we did wrong.
I wish I could. I wish I could say you guys did anything wrong, but in my opinion, you didn't. I mean, I have to go with Scoots here. I mean, if you think not wearing your jersey is to the biggest fighting game event of the year, potentially ever, is not a big deal. It is a big deal, and it's an even bigger deal to other teams. Other teams would not have put up with it the first fucking time. Like you guys were like, okay, it's the first time. I would have been pissed after the first time. So I get it completely. But that being said, I want to comment on the overall picture here. Number one, I like CD Jr. I think I told you this from the get-go.
Great player, CD Jr. Phenomenal talent. Yeah. And if he wore his shirt every time, if he didn't tweet about being drunk and partying, those minor things, right? Just keep it clean right now, right? Because in order for the FGC to succeed, they've got to mesh in with this is a very fragile business environment, and a lot of deals are being made. And again, right, it's not that I feel at all that these are bad people. Not even Rio for the silly retiring and then going to go join Empire Arcade or whatever, right? Nobody cares, right? But the point is, we have to make decisions about where we want to put our time and energy. And at the end of the day, I didn't want staff to deal with that anymore, right?
Yeah, and
I'm not saying they're not pardon me, I'm not saying they're not sponsorable players, right? I absolutely think CD Jr. deserves the NOS sponsorship. He is a champion on many levels, and he should never be thought of as a lesser player because vVvGaming dropped him. And I don't think people think that anyway. But I want to make that clear. But for me and our staff and all the things that we had to make, it wasn't what we thought was good for us. And if a Complexity wants CD Jr., Check 6 wants them, EG, anybody who wants these players, by all means, go for it, right? But for us, it wasn't a good fit, and it doesn't fit with our culture. And it's a choice we made. But everybody's got to make tough choices, and I make it always, I have to make those choices. I don't run from them. And in this particular case, I didn't feel it was right for us to go on. We had to, I need staff focused on games and players that were a lot in larger markets, right? There's a lot more of a market consistently for League of Legends and now Guild Wars 2 than there is for fighting games in a traditional esports sense. And it really stung that at the largest fighting game event, right, 2 of our players end up not really even wearing their shirt, right? So, you dump $600 on a hotel, you pay for entry and stuff, you do these things, right? And you think to yourself, okay, what return did we get out of this, right? And so at the end of the day, I don't feel that anybody should look at these players as bad, but I want you to understand it was not a good fit for vVvGaming, what we had to do. But yeah, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, man, and I want to hit the overall point because I think you're right. I do like CD Jr. a lot, and I've said it before to you that the way he represented you guys when he, on stage, I think was great. I mean, I really do. I think he showed a lot of professionalism, a lot of sportsmanship for almost, every time. That being said, my main point here is not, pissed. You can be, upset about what CD Jr. didn't do or what Rio didn't do or anything like that. I'm more upset with the fighting game community, and the reason I am, and I hate to generalize, but the reason I am is that I saw how people destroyed vVv for this, and we're bitching at vVv for dropping the players on a quote unquote whim, like it was the first time they've ever done this and stuff like that. And they were covering this story. They were covering the story that the CD Jr. got dropped and stuff like that.
But here's the thing, right? I want to throw something out here. Here's the irony, right? The first thing is the whole fighting game community didn't want us involved in the first place, right? It was a struggle to just get like, okay, we'll tolerate vVv, right? It just got us to that point. But then as soon as we drop them, they act like, oh my God, we were such longtime buddies. Why did you do such a shitty thing, right? And it's like, wait a minute, which one was it? Did you wish that we weren't involved? Or now are you all of a sudden disappointed that we're not involved? I thought you'd be happy. Look, you don't have to do this anymore.
I just hate how they, and once again, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I missed it, but I just hate how you scold the organization for dropping the players. You don't scold the players for doing what they did, and you don't scold Rio for doing what he did. To me, like, you scold a player for that. You go, hey, you're fucking that up for the rest of us. Don't you get that? Like, don't you get that because of what you guys have done, that is a sponsor that is not putting their money into fighting games anymore? Are people not fucking getting this? Like, there are all these players in the fight. There's a ton of players in the fighting game community that are unsponsored right now. And when you guys drop a team, I think to myself, maybe I shouldn't sponsor fighting game players. It's not just about you guys. It's about what affects everyone else, too.
You know what?
I think
this is the
maybe
thing.
I shouldn't fucking do it.
I was at an event not too long ago where we were talking to social media coordinators for NBA teams, and they were talking about players having social media and some of the challenges they say. The rules, right? Heaven fucking forbid before a game you tweet, "Oh, I'm up drinking, not sure my game tomorrow is going to go well." Stand the fuck by for the amount of penalty that's in that fucking contract, right? The social media guidelines and rules are so specific, right? So at the end of the day, right, I could give a shit if somebody says, this isn't, you know what? This is VV Gaming. We have standards, and they are very professional. If that bothers you, then be glad we're gone. Go back to talking about drinking and how fucked up you were and how much party you were. Go, right? Esports is not trying to be professional wrestling. Esports is trying to be a legitimate activity where we reward people who train and work their best to perform at tournaments at the highest possible level, right? Kids have dreams about these things. They want to be at the pro stage so they can prove that they're the best. They don't want to be there to get all fucked up drunk and then be, I don't know if I'm going to do real well that next day, right? Bottom line. And no matter what anybody says, the world isn't going to adjust to the fighting game community. The fighting game community has to adjust to the professional world. And if they don't want to do that, hey, by all means, stay pro wrestling. No one is going to bother you, right? But I'm not interested in pro wrestling.
You know, it's really funny because we have some people in the chat right now that are saying things like, what, he can't do this on his free time, he can't be an adult and go drink. And really, there's such a more basic fundamental issue here. It's not that they're drinking. Go ahead, have a drink, things like that. The bottom line becomes when you get shit-faced drunk and can't represent your sponsor properly the next day, when you come in to an event completely hungover with shit dripping down your mouth, and you say, oh, I don't know, I shouldn't, and you tweet something to the effect of, I don't think I can even play today, why am I even going to try? How does that make your sponsors look? Think about, like, for the example of CD Jr., how NOS is going to look at him when they just put their endorsement on this player, and then he's representing their brand by going, I don't even know if I should play in this tournament. I had a little too much to drink last night. It's not the act of drinking. It's just what happened.
Yeah. I mean, better yet, I like to give people, I like to put people in my shoes a little bit. I want you to just look at it from the way
I want to throw one other thing
feels.
out there. I just happened to hop on the thread, and I thought it was something very, very important. ABC Infinite said something that's really not, is missing a very important piece. It's kind of funny because the things that get you more fans often alienate sponsors. Let me make this clear, Infinite. If you want to go out there and tweet about any bad activity, that's fine. But if it's going to influence your performance in a tournament, that's not fine. You can get all kinds of fans on a Monday night when you've got nothing going on after you've taken first place. Take pics about being out at the club, whatever it is, have fun, get fans, talk about how great it is to be an esports champion. That's good, no one's going to say anything. But until that event's over, there's a big difference, right? So no matter what, right, this is not the fact, I don't even feel like it's even worth having one of those, like, you know, oh, you guys did this wrong, you guys did this wrong. At the end of the day, hey, that's great. VV Gaming's not good for the fighting game community. We're not a good fit. We accept that, right? We accept that. We agree. We don't get it. We expect too much. We want them to behave during tournaments. That's not the fighting game community. We totally get that, right?
And there are other teams who would be more accepting. Let's be completely honest.
Absolutely. Go to Sonic.
You guys do have a higher standard of values than a lot of other teams, including mine. You know, so I get it completely. But that's the thing. I want people to just try to put themselves in the team's shoes. Just 1 second. Then I think we're going to move on. Just imagine Jerry. He's sitting at his computer, and he's checking up Evo updates after long days of work. And he goes on his Twitter, and he sees a player that he's just paid, Lord only knows how much money, to get him to Las Vegas, and also to pay a hotel, which in what I think was Caesar's Palace, right? Like, let's be honest, Las Vegas isn't the cheapest fucking
But it doesn't matter. The money amount doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Even if I paid $60, even if I just paid $60, right? Even better than that, right?
The fact
Even
that you
if-
pay anything for someone
Right.
to go
Exactly.
and party and then potentially hurt their results because of
And one
that.
more thing, again, Infinite brings up Stefano. I just want to address this because I think it's important. Oh, so Stefano acts like a real jerk, so we should think that's a good thing. We should bravo, Lindsay Lohan, that shit. Yep, that's fantastic. That's what we want to do. I'm going to argue that most people don't think that's a great way to be. I'm just going to put it out there that I don't believe most people's goal is to go to an MLG event, puke like the fucking Exorcist girl, and then get hauled off to fucking Swedish jail. If that's your standard of excellence, bravo, Infinite. You're right. Shoot for the motherfucking stars, baby. Go way up there, because that's where I want to be. I want to be right there going, dude, I got all fucked up. Aren't I cool? No. It's 2012, right? What you are is kind of an idiot. You're entertainment for us. We like you because you're a fucking clown. That's what the funny part is, right?
And in the end, I want people to realize, too, that Stefano is one of the best players in the world right now, if not the best player in the world right now. And I can guarantee that he will make less money because of his actions. I can guarantee it. Because no one's going to want to put him in certain things, in certain commercials for certain companies. You just won't fucking see it. You'll see In Control instead, I guarantee you.
But you know what? Here's the thing. And bringing up the Stefano drinking, if we're going to bring that back to where the FGC is, and here's the difference between, let's say, CD Jr. at CEO versus Stefano when he was eliminated overseas. Okay? One, CD Jr. did it in the middle of the event. That could have potentially affected his results. Who knows? He could have beaten Rio if that didn't happen. We don't know. But two, if we're looking at Stefano, he started drinking and making an ass of himself after he was eliminated from the tournament. It didn't affect his way of playing. If he had done that, he could have done worse. We don't know. The fact of the matter is he did not do that until after he was eliminated. So did he still look bad on him for having that happen? Yes, but was it during the tournament? Can they say anything about the results after that? No, he just played bad. So that's it. That's the bottom line. It would have been worse if he did it in the middle of the tournament. Just saying.
And I want to interrupt you real quick too. And I know Jerry's going to interrupt me, but
just to correct something, Kevin Bacon said no, he did it before the finals. Yes, but he was already eliminated. Kevin, you have to understand that when Stefano started drinking, he was done with the tournament. He was eliminated, right? Again, and this is the part that interests me, right? I think if I collected, 9,000 people in America, right? And I talked to corporations. I said, hey, do you think that this is a good idea? I can see maybe MTV, maybe a few reality television shows, maybe Entertainment going, are you kidding me? Somebody getting all fucked and making a total ass of themselves? Fuck yeah, we'll promote that. But all the mainstream sponsors would be like, we're not fucking touching that with a 10-foot pole, right? That's a lawsuit waiting to happen, right? So we're not going to do that. So at the end of the day, like I said, hey, if you think Stefano's your fucking benchmark for success, by all the fuck means, start your own gaming organization, sponsor Stefano. It's all yours. You can have it. That's not VV Gaming, and it never will be.
And I want to issue something real quick because I don't know, Jason, you might be saying the same thing I am. CD Junior's in the chat right now, and I want him to realize that he came in towards the end of this conversation, and I want you to realize, him and everyone else for that matter, that I personally, at least, and I know I don't have any affiliation with the UV, but me personally, think he's an amazing player, and I think
Definitely.
I think he has the right to fuck up sometimes. I get fucking up. Everyone fucks up. I get it completely. And you'll find another team. You probably, I can almost guarantee you've already found one.
Absolutely.
So,
as well he should.
Yeah.
He should.
You deserve to be on a team. You're an amazing player, and you do have a level of professionalism that you don't see out of even most fighting game players. That being said, I wish people wouldn't make such a big deal about this and not make a big deal about other things that happen as well. You know, what the players do, because they're driving teams out of sponsoring fighting.
And so here's the thing, right? The other thing I think that we want to, so we got that covered. I don't want to focus on VV dropping it. We talked about it. You got our perspective. We had a little debate on it. I want to talk about the fighting game community overall because Juicebox Abel asked that question. I think it's worth something to come to. So what do we know so far? We know the King of Fighters 13 hasn't been announced and could possibly not come back. I was told at MLG Anaheim it wasn't coming back by a source I had. So I'm not expecting it to come back. It may come back, but I'm not expecting it. So the next thing that we have is the future. I think it's tough. I would guess that if you looked at the stream numbers, you would say that probably 75% to 80% of the stream is League of Legends. If you're looking at MLG numbers, you're probably going to get about 16 to 20% of the stream being StarCraft. You're probably less than 5% for fighting games, realistically, at MLG events. Doesn't mean it's that way at EVO or any other place, but I'm just talking about Major League Gaming as a whole. So their investments are going to be in League, StarCraft, and then possibly whatever they're going to get, whatever they're going to do around the console side. Because getting their name brand in front of a young audience is also very beneficial to them. So what are some of the challenges? They're going to make business decisions based on stream numbers, and the stream numbers are either there or they are not there. That's why MLG went to this flex format. So they feel comfortable to continue to give fighters a shot. I'm guessing part of it has to do with contracts. Part of it has to do with there is really no other game out there, right? You've got all those PlayStation 3s. You have this agreement with Sony. Really isn't anything else on the PS3 worth pursuing. This is just my opinion. So I think fighting games are fine until either something else pops up or the landscape changes. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's really important that a lot of fighting game fans, I think MLG is good. And I think you should be supportive and you should watch those streams. If you don't or you don't care, it's going to go away. It's really in the hands of the fans. Because MLG at the end of the day is going to be the one to make that number based on business. So Juicebox, I don't know if that helps you, but...
here's my question to you, Jerry, and this is something I'm curious about, and I'd love to hear from other people too. And I think I asked this exact same thing to Jabali when we had him on, is EVO had similar games. Why would something like EVO, and I'm calling out EVO, and that's kind of obvious. EVO, of course, is bigger. They've been around longer. Blah blah blah. But really, any fighting game tournament for that matter, why is the quote unquote hype more for any of the other fighting game tournaments than it is for MLG? And a better question is, what percentage of that is MLG's fault? Because what I'm looking at is what we can fix. We can't fix community perception. We can't fix that without them seeing some more stuff they like. We can't wave a magic wand or bring more or get rid of chairs and expect that to be gone. So I'm going with what we can fix. So what is MLG doing wrong in the fighting game's eye as to why people aren't showing up, people aren't watching as much? Because they're obviously doing something wrong. So I want to be able to give them some suggestions, because it's clear they want fighting games.
To me, I think it comes back down to the Capcom issue. People are saying it in the stream, but I think they're right. I think whenever you find yourself in a situation where you don't have all the fighters, you have some of them, I think it diminishes the experience for the fan base. To be fair, the FGC as a whole is tight-knit, and they don't just play one game, and they often play many different games, and many of them play Capcom titles. So, I don't necessarily know if it's anyone's fault outside of Capcom, to be honest, or MLG and Capcom's ability to come to an agreement. But I think it would be very, very different if MLG were able to host all the games that, say, an EVO, or most of the games that an EVO or other ones would do.
I agree. And I also think that, to be completely honest, if MLG finds that their main problem is not having Capcom games, I really think they should just drop fighting games altogether. They don't need to do it half-ass, plain and simple. And they don't. And when they don't have, and I'm not saying that's their fault. What I'm saying is that it is half-assed to the fighting game community when they look at it and don't see a lot of people getting hype and don't see a lot of people watching the stream or anything like that. So in my opinion, if it turns out to be a Capcom game thing, but they should drop all the fighting games and and then wait until they have a better relationship with Capcom somehow, whether it be bribing them or what.
Here's my question in regards to this, because we're talking about MLG possibly not having King of Fighters. We're leaning towards them not having it at Raleigh when that comes up next month. But at EVO, King of Fighters had one of, if not, I think it was the second most watched stream was for King of Fighters 13, I believe.
Yes, it was. Yep.
So what is the reason? What causes that disparity? It can't be that Capcom games aren't at MLG when it's King of Fighters, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's Evo's a brand that's been around. It's respected. It's been considered the championship. I mean, everybody in the fighting game community goes to Evo.
It's hard to compare the two. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
I think a more fair comparison is the other events to MLG, because MLG is not even on the same plane with Evo when it comes to fighting games, and I think they know that. I think what it comes to is comparing them to the smaller events, whether it be CEO or some of the SoCal events that have been going on, the NorCal regionals or anything like that. Some of those events I would more compare to them, and even those events are just so much bigger than an MLG right now in terms of the hype level, quote unquote. I know that's a stupid way of saying it, but also in terms of people showing up and things like that. So, and I think, like you said, a lot of that goes back to no Capcom games.
All right, and
to be honest, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I agree with that.
I was going to say there's one other thing to consider, and this is going away from MLG, but we look at something like the IPL. We look at Jedi Rob, who is in his position with the IPL, and the rumors that they're looking at working with Capcom for something like IGN's Pro League. Could IPL be more successful than MLG in the fighting game sense and make that a part of their circuit over MLG just because they could potentially have Capcom?
You know what I think the challenge?
Here's my opinion though. Hell yes, because if you look at an IPL event, the structure is just so much different than an MLG that even the structure allows for the fighting game community to have a much better way of showcasing themselves, and that's not MLG's fault. It's just the truth. It's just the way they are. I
just want to make something really clear here. I absolutely fundamentally disagree with all of that. Let me explain to you why. I really do. What MLG's problem was, and what the central challenge here is really a very, very simple one, right? It's about building relationships. And at the end of the day, right, there are not relationships in MLG that really work with the fighting game community. They are an outsider, just in a lot of ways the same way VV Gaming was an outsider. And when you come into something new, you're going to make mistakes, and you don't always do things perfectly. We certainly made mistakes. MLG has made mistakes. IPL has one thing going for it, I think, in that space. Jedi Rob is there. Devastation has been something on the sort of FGC list that's attended and known. There are relationships built. I still think you can't get around building relationships. So at the end of the day, it's really why I'm so hesitant to answer the question that G-Spock Abel asked. It's just kind of like VVV. It's one of those situations where it's not that MLG dropping the fighting game community means the fighting game community is bad. It would mean that for MLG, it's just not right. They don't have the investments. They don't have the inroads. And let's be honest, the fighting game community is very tight-knit, and they're skeptical and not very friendly to outsiders, right? And that's just a reality. So, and it's been around a long time, and when things have been around a long time, they get insular like that. So at the end of the day, do I think that MLG will keep it? I don't know. I just don't think that there's a long time of relationships built, and they don't have the right person. If they get the right person to come along their side, a lot of that changes. But I don't believe any of the FGC members will jump to help MLG if they don't know that Capcom will come on board, right? So that's one of the challenges. Let's say I was Jabali and I was running CEO. Just as an example, right? I have a great relationship with all these fighting games. I run a really major event. And MLG says, hey, we want to hire you. Well, he's in a real difficult position now because even if they let him keep his event, will he want to go to MLG knowing that there may be no inroads to bring Capcom events to MLG, and then all of a sudden say, you know what, I'm not going to take the job because I don't believe I'm going to be successful because we can't overcome this barrier between MLG and Capcom, and I'm not sure that we'll be successful without it. Those are, I think, some of the considerations that go into it. And, you know, I think that unless the FGC itself accepts MLG first, it's just a really, really difficult uphill climb.
Yeah, I think I think MLG should drop it if they can't get Capcom games. I really do. As far as IPL getting Capcom games, if they're able to get Capcom games, I think it's going to be the first real success in that aspect. And once again, it's not MLG's fault. It's just I personally believe that the way that IPL is set up is just it's so much better for the way that Capcom games or for the way that fighting games would want to be ran anyway. They do these regional things. They're doing it with StarCraft. They're doing the satellites. They're doing the regionals. They've got different rooms, set up and things like that. It's just, or they can all sort of be themselves. I think it's a lot of it really points towards fighting games working perfectly there. So.
And like I said, if somebody else, obviously the FGC has existed and they're going to events and they've been going to events and they've sort of made it work. Looking at it, they say they don't need anybody. Then let them go. I get the sense that the FGC wants to be in its own world. Most of them don't really want the stage. They're happy with Evo. Then leave them alone. I mean, why try to push people where they don't want to be, right? I just think it's not worth it. And I don't think it's worth it to consistently, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Well, don't force the FGC to go someplace they don't want to go.
Here's my problem just from the team aspects of things, though, is I want to be able to sponsor a fighting game player really bad. I want to be able to really, really bad because I enjoy watching especially Mortal Kombat and Tekken, although I'm got a pipe dream there. I'm not the biggest fan of Street Fighter.
I've got 3 players, CD Junior, RTD, Romance, that you should go after. But
see, that's the thing with MLG dropping the game. I don't want to because or potentially dropping it, it's, the future, kind of thing. I really worry about stuff like that because for me personally, it's a lot easier having fighting game players at an MLG or an IPL event, where I can, number one, we're already sending managers to the event for StarCraft. It's just so much easier to manage. It's so much easier to capitalize on because I understand everything about it. I understand when it is. It's easier to schedule. It's just... So there's a lot more that go into having a fighting game player when they're just going to fighting game events rather than quote unquote esport events. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Sure.
It's complicated. So
all right, so we covered why we dropped our fighting game division. We've covered Juicebox Abel's question about sort of the future of that and MLG.
Jerry, for the last few minutes, I have one other topic if we've got time.
Depends. What is it?
It's one that's it's going to hit you out of left field because I didn't tell you anything about it. So
Surprise me, go.
Kinejit with Team Liquid covered a topic that I found very interesting.
Oh,
it's basically... I knew you would love this. He did a video blog.
No. Please, no. You know what? No. That's embarrassing. Are you trying to embarrass him?
Oh...
Oh, come on. I felt so bad for him. Somebody who hates Team Liquid says, you're going to love this. And I looked at that and I said, that poor retarded monkey. No offense to retards or monkeys. That video's horrible. Come on now. You really want to talk about that? If I were him, I would turn that video off because that was definitely, I'm auditioning for the mentally challenged here. That was not a good video.
That video was
I'm
so
being honest, seriously.
I'll
a link to that video. I'm serious. And I'll let everybody else decide, right? But I'm just being dead serious. That video was not, that was way silly. That was have you ever been to school? Or do you ever read? Does you ever encountered?
We're talking about the same video, right? Because I'm laughing at the right thing. Because he's done a few.
There's only one team. I mean, come on. I mean, we in vVvG staff, we all made a joke. We're like, we need to close our doors right now. They're going to run this show. That's it. Give up. Team Liquid's here.
I just linked it in chat for those that haven't seen it.
Oh yeah.
It's so bad.
The funny
title.
Thing is he is 100%. He's 100% serious. I thought he was joking at first, and I suppose I get it in some weird twisted way, but anyway.
Just the title itself is enough to be done. Boobs, framing shots, and esports.
You know what?
I'm so glad that Jerry.
I mean this from the bottom of my heart, right? Hot bitch should talk to him and say, dude, pull the video off. There's a reason you're not the public face of the company, and this is why, right? Because it's absolutely horrible, right? And here's the thing again, right? I'm not sure why anybody thinks I don't know, really boobs. Like the first thing that caught my attention was the word boobs. Like, how old are you? Right? Their breasts. Right? Let's just start with the adult words. Right? And if we're going to talk about how we use sex as a selling tool in esports, have a point. Like, he rambled on about crap. And I was like, what the heck are you trying to tell us? Right? At the end of the day, what's the point of this babble? Right? If we're going to talk, let's start with like a framework. Like, hey, I want to raise a question about what we think is too much sex in esports marketing. Oh, great. That's a question. We can have a conversation about what would be too much sex and use bad examples and say, you know, we think this is over the top. We don't. We sort of commented on it and then it'd be fine. But that was like someone, I hope to God someone at Team Liquid didn't go, dude, you really need to be streaming. Everybody's streaming. You need to be streaming. Because that was the calling card for the, okay, here's a mop, here's a bucket, here are the bathrooms at Sam's Club, you know, here's a name tag, good luck, sir, because I certainly wouldn't trust you with much else. Just being honest. Just being honest.
I have to laugh because what someone just posted in chat. Shut the fuck up, Jerry. He gets more ass than you do. Got him.
Yeah, you got me. Yeah. I questioned that thought, but I got you.
This is why we're never ending up on the calendar, Jerry. Get out.
No, Team Liquid won't love us because I make these, you know, honest critiques of what I consider to be absolutely ridiculous content. Right. Oh, maybe you should be nice to someone. Well, you know what? There are other people to do that. I'm just going to call it the way I see it. So yeah, that's sort of that. So does that cover? I mean, is there really anything to talk about? I mean, do we really think that like esports is some?
We're done.
I don't think we're there.
We're done.
Okay.
We're done.
I mean, you don't want to defend it. You don't want to say it was a great. Here's your chance to say Jerry. Team Liquid. It's a good video. All right. So there goes those tumbleweeds. Okay. So that's.
I would just say no comment.
Yeah,
Done.
That's the right thing to say.
Yep.
All right. So we are coming now to the end of the show. And there are some things there's a few people that I have to shout out to. So I'm going to go down my list. Because Lord knows if I'm ever going to do this again, we don't know. If I do this again, every show will start with me saying something to the effect of everything said on this show is my opinion and my opinion alone, and does not in any way reflect the opinions of Riot Games, their partners, or associates. That's probably what I will do if I decide to continue this. But let me start with...
which means you better decide to continue this. But
I hear you. I'll get to that when I'm settled in and I got a good feel for all this. Let me start with a couple things. First of all, I wrote a post today. Jason can link it. Basically, passing the reins on to vVvGamingTV, who's going to do a phenomenal job. But recently, we have, in light of this transition, I think a lot of people were very nervous. They were nervous. Oh my God, Jerry's leaving. What is it going to mean? And I thought I needed to remind everybody of something, right? So I did a post basically telling our story. And what I wanted to do was really tell our story, because we haven't, right? I mean, every time somebody says something shitty about vVvGaming, I go, dude, we have nothing to be embarrassed about. And so I wanted to sort of put it all in one spot, someplace where I don't think a lot of people knew things about vVv, right? You know, and I'm going to go through this list for those who don't want to read, but it's just real quick. You know, we always put our partners first. We never took a single dollar from any sponsor. This is the truth. Not a single dollar. We've always taken just product sponsorships. We've never promised players money. We never bought talent, right? We never said we're going to give you a salary. We've always spent less than organizations in the same top space, right? And I'm conceding that EG and Complexity have much more talented players than we've ever had, and definitely are the pinnacle of esports talent agency, right? We have been able to, in esports, create a culture where adding value is in the DNA of the organization. I think we have more teenagers that use the word adding value than any other place on the planet, right? We've always focused on growth. 5 years straight, Kurt, and not even most businesses can say this, our web numbers have gone up. Our traffic has gone up consistently over 5 years, year to year, right? We've always been at the forefront of social media. 250% increase in social media use just in the last year, actually 13 months over all this, right? We have one of the longest contributing writers to Chicago Tribune Geek to me. And everything that's gone wrong, Kurt, from being hacked, me being socially engineered on my Comcast account, your YouTube being hacked and shut down, everything we've gone through, we've recovered. Never blamed anybody, never whined about it, nothing, right? We have been over 37 major esports events on 5 continents. After this part, I don't want to read the rest of the list. I don't feel like we have much to defend, right? If you don't like VV Gaming, by all means, go start your own fucking organization. Good luck to you, right? But I do not feel like we have anything to defend to anybody. We have people who have, all staff is volunteer. They work for free, and they bust their ass to do this for the thing they love, to go to events, to take pictures, just to have 1 or 2 nights together where we have fun. But the rest of the year, they're working on the website and everything else. And they do it for free because they're passionate about it. So I absolutely just had to say to all the haters sort of outright, we have a saying in VV Gaming, and that saying is, this is not Uncle fucking Woody's clan, right? We're not here to be a bunch of buddies and, you know, we're going to, no, this is about really doing something great. And the honest truth is, we troll every organization out there that tries to mimic us. And I can tell you that I'm pretty sure that we've reaccepted more people in 5 years than 90% of the organizations have ever accepted. This is not a lie. With that being said, I think it's important that everybody know that I never did this alone, right? I am one person. I have an amazing staff. I have one of the best staffs in esports. I would hire them wherever I go if they wanted to work with me, because I know they'll do their best to bust their ass. Right? And one of the key elements about having that kind of quality people around you all the time is I know that's what Doomhammer is going to have around him. The same quality people that I did. So it's not something that I take lightly about turning this over. But I hope that Doomhammer gets the exact same support I've gotten. And the 2 things about Jordan that I really like, he is more professional than me, and he is way less confrontational than I am. And I think in many ways that's going to be good for the organization. He is a nerd at heart, and he speaks nerd, and he doesn't troll forums, and he's committed to things being really good, and he has a phenomenal sense of humor. Those tools will make him very successful. Now, what I didn't expect, Kurt, was some of the comments that came on the thread. In retrospect, somebody said maybe you should have, but people came out of the woodwork to give me really good wishes, and I have been flattered throughout them. But there is one theme that I read over and over and over again that really touches my heart, and that is that VV Gaming was always more than competitive gaming. It was about life. It was about the things we do. It was about all the things that we're passionate about, but more importantly, how we can apply them to life. And I look forward to many people who used to be in VVV and still are in VVV to go on and do great things. And you know what? No one else has ever done that. I really mean that. At the scale that we have done this, I don't think anyone else comes close. So this is why I am very, very completely unaffected by, you know, the hate, the sort of like, you know, negative comments, because really, what at the end of the day could we do better that would really make you happy? Do you want us to contract a couple top Koreans so we look like everybody else? Will that make you happy? Right? Do you want us to get one more better player in a game? I don't think that we have anything to be ashamed of. And most importantly, it was a real lesson to me to find out that the one thing that will always matter is the quality of our people. I want to share another fact with you that in my running around today, sort of looking at what we've done. You know, we keep every application that we've ever seen, any numbers, demographics about vVv Gaming, and it sort of surprised me when I looked at over the years. The number of people, right? We've had over the 5 years, we've had about 5,000, I think 5,300 people apply about 5,300 people apply. Of those 5,300 people that apply, right? I want you to think about this. Of the 5,300 people that apply, we've only accepted about 770 or so, Jeez. Right? Of those 770, we always cull the herd. Right? Some people leave, but we always max out at 150. That means 600 people have either left or been dropped from the organization over 5 years, right? Or maybe reapplied and come back later. But the point at the end of the day is we've always kept what I believe to be some of the best people in esports. I was in a conference call today with SteelSeries, and we were talking about the transference of power and what we're going to be doing together and upcoming events for Guild Wars and stuff like that. And you know what? The other thing that really struck me is how amazing SteelSeries has been through all of this. Kim Ram and everyone, so excited for me. A shout out to Adam Apicel at MLG, who contacted me right on Skype after he heard the news. Sundance, who immediately set up a phone call with me. And Sundance probably gave me one of the best. It was like, I almost felt like he was being my dad for a moment, telling me why this was an amazing opportunity and why it was going to be good no matter what the outcome was. And I really appreciated that, him being the CEO of Sundance and the father and the leader. I saw in that moment a lot of reasons why people at MLG love working for him. That is a gift and that is a strength. So at the end of the day, those have been some amazing things. Finally, there are a lot of people in VV Gaming that I want to take some time out to thank, because if I never do a podcast show again, if I never get a chance to speak about it again, I really want those people to know that they have made a pretty phenomenal difference in both myself and the organization. I'm going to go back to 2007, and my first shout-out's going to go to Christopher Lynch from Rhode Island. Christopher Lynch was a 14-year-old kid who designed our very first website and did all the web work for VV Gaming as a 14-year-old. He, to this day, works in the web field, has his own sort of contracting business where he does web work. He was in the beginning, did all our web work for free. And whatever made Chris fall in love with us and do the great work he did, I'm not so sure VV Gaming would have grown as quickly as we did if we didn't have a home and his advice and a lot of his knowledge. At 14 years old, he was way ahead of anybody else in his skill set, and I think he's going to have a rosy future no matter what he does. He's definitely one of those people who I don't think needs college. He should just keep doing what he's doing, be a business person, and keep getting the experience. He, at a very young age, is going to wake up and all of a sudden realize over the last decade he's done amazing work, and a lot of people have benefited from that amazing work. So that's sort of like my first big shout out of somebody who I really think needs appreciation. Throughout that, I want to comment on a couple of people who've given posts to, there is a MMO player named Nomura who played Rift with us, who came back to the forums to just really say something really great, and I really appreciated it. And I really appreciate everyone's comment about the things you learned from the being in the VV community. And I don't want to mention all the current staff because so many of you said great things, from Amp to Sean Blazik to Brock to Paradise. Jason said something. Rapture. A lot of people who I've spent time at MLG events have said some pretty great things. A shout out to Fallout, who reached out today. Fallout was on one of our very first Gears of War teams. We arrived at Meadowlands in 2007 with 3 Gears of War teams, our very epic famous VV Vision, which was our top Gears of War team. And then our second Gears of War team was VV United. And that was a team Fallout was on with, if I remember right, Castle Keep, Rampage, and Franchise. And that was VV United way back in 07. I want to give a big shout out to Rob Zigad. You're all going to be seeing a lot more than him. Rob Zigad was also one of these 14-year-old emo kids who was a fucking, oh my God. If you knew what he was like when he was 14, everybody couldn't stand him. He was a somewhat talented Gears of War player, but oh my God, he hated his dad. He would fucking yell all the time. It was like, dude, if that was my kid, I'd fucking destroy him. But all of a sudden, and I don't know if this is really something Rob Zigad wants me to share, but Rob Zigad had a bad moment in life where he did something really wrong, and it was one of those life-changing moments where you make a horrible mistake. And he made one of those horrible mistakes, and all of a sudden, whether that all the wires got finally wired, all of a sudden sort of out of that emerged a much more humble person, and all of a sudden he has become an enormous asset to the organization. I can promise all of you this. I don't think anybody shits on VV Game harder than Rob Zigad. I really mean that. Rob Zigad has almost nothing good to say about what we do, finds faults in every single missed opportunity we have, and he's probably one of the most important members of our staff because I'm pretty sure he's like sandpaper to so many people. But he has this never-ending pursuit for getting it perfect, getting it better, opportunities that are missed, tweets that could have been made, ways to tell the story, all of this. Sugar Bear is fantastic. Sugar Bear's commitment, who is our StarCraft 2 manager, to making this organization better is fantastic. I think there are so many good people. And I have one more shout out, and that's to Exodus. I hope Exodus comes back as console games get more in, but Exodus is always around. But he's got, tell you all a story. Kurt, you might appreciate this. You're from North Carolina, right?
Unfortunately.
I'm going to forgive you here. But Exodus, see, the thing with Scott was from Alabama, and he's got a pretty solid Alabama accent. And we had another kid from Texas. His name was Nero. And Nero did a lot of intelligence work for us, I call it. He would check other sites, keep us up to date, see if anybody was doing anything new, innovative, stuff like that. One, to make sure we weren't copying what other people were doing, and two, maybe learn from them. But one day, I think we were playing Gears of War, and Nero would pick on Scott nonstop. It wouldn't end. No matter what happened, he would always pick on Scott, call him a dumb hick, tell him he was sleeping with his wife, whatever the case may be. And in one moment, Scott, who always fucked up every time he insulted someone, he would fuck it up. Like, that's what made Scott so lovable. So, like, he was the guy who would, like, yell at you and then he'd fuck up the joke. So one day he's like, really pissed off. He's had enough of Nero. He's like, Nero, is there a wall near you? And Nero's like, no, Scott, there are no walls. He's like, well, go run into it anyway. And we were like, oh my God. Right? So that was kind of the Nero Exodus sort of like love-hate relationship. And it was really endearing. It really was. And in those earlier days, that people were so close that it was a lot of fun. I also want to give shout out to Radiation, who I think is going to be a successful game designer. His professionalism just over the top. Rapture, I appreciate his really heartfelt letter. I think Rapture was kind of hard on himself, but just mad love for you, Dakota. I think you're going to do great things in your life. Rapture is one of those people who I sometimes wonder if he's going to be a famous writer, a famous comedian, something really creative in his world, because he's got that personality. And again, for me, doing this podcast, being around the esports community in the last 5 years has been fantastic. I believe that I have met some of the finest people. Many of you have taught me to be patient. I never realized what people meant about kids. They said kids change you, but they got it wrong. It's not the kids change you. That's not what changes you. It's when you really, really are passionate about something for the first time and you're responsible for it. That's when you change. And I think that can be a kid, it can be a business, it can be a lot of different things. But it's when you have to rely on other people, when you're forced to work with other people to make something successful, that you're really driven about, that you change. And if it's ever happened to you, you'll know it. You'll know when that change has happened. And for a lot of people, I think, that probably came to, maybe whatever your passions are, that's where it's going to live. Finally, one more other thing, and I think that I've something I want to get off my chest. If there's one advice that I'm going to give to all of you, it's something I hope you'll understand. My honest future vision of esports is one where all the players are professional players in whatever games have enough of an audience to support them. And I hope that developers and leagues come together to find a way to contract every player. I really do. I'm not trying to shut Check 6 or EG or Complexity out of the business. There are a lot of titles out there, but if we're going to have esports, I think it's got to be run in a very professional manner. I would like to see either Riot or Blizzard or Major League Gaming or IPL in some way at one point and someday really own the talent and do something really fantastic. And if that means we hire all the organizations, I know the CGS model failed, but a lot of lessons were learned and technology has changed. I also think something else. I would like to see more vVvGamings out there. I really would. Go to the thread, look at what people wrote to me. They didn't have to say that. I think there are people in esports I know who would make great leaders. Many people in esports who love this, who've been through a lot in their life, and I promise you it's about building relationships. I promise you it's about being honest, and it's telling people exactly what you think. If you can do those things consistently, people, whether they love you or hate you, will at some degree know exactly where you stand, and they'll look at you with either a whole bunch of hate or with a deep respect, sometimes a lot of love, and sometimes a mix of them all. And if you don't ever say what you think, if you're not honest, if you don't put yourself out there, you're not going to make anything better. And I really hope that as things move forward, we're moving esports to be fan-based, that we believe it, take it seriously. I would love nothing more than to be able to kick back and get my esports scores from a news source, a bunch of different games. I'd like to see vVvGaming continue to be one of the best training grounds on the planet. I said it in my post. A lot of great stories started in vVvGaming. I think it's not a very well-known fact anymore that 18 out of the top 32 MLG Pro Gears of War players got their start in vVv. It's just always been a talent factory. And looking forward, I really, really hope that we continue to be a great talent factory. I think about some of the great people like Toxic and Glon, who came to us in StarCraft looking up to the Titans and the Murders, and who basically walked themselves up from basically bronze all the way up to GM and have had a great ride. I think of, I don't know, the hundreds of people I've met in the guilds we've had, Warcraft, Ion, Rift, Star Wars, it's amazing to think about all the people we've touched. Some of our best and most generous donators have come from MMOs. So finally, to those of you out there, I just said you want to start your own vVvGaming. Keep in mind that I did this never taking a single dollar from a sponsor, never supporting Counter-Strike, never supporting World of Warcraft, and never supporting Warcraft 3. Those were 4 things every motherfucker told me. You need to get sponsors, you need to support 1.6, you need to get into WoW, and you need to get into fucking Warcraft 3. And all we said was, fuck you. I'm going to get into the games I like, I'm going to look into the future, and I don't really give a shit what esports says we have to do. And I think you fast forward 5 years later, we've been able to do it our way, with a community we're proud of, with the people we want to work with, and that is a luxury very few organizations have. So if there is some measure of success that anybody feels we haven't lived up to, by all means, you're welcome to that critique, but understand that I pretty well have drank our Kool-Aid, and I think we have an enormous things to be really, really, really proud of, and we have a talented staff who's still going to do great things. And when you go back to 2007 when we began, and you think about that one Gears of War team and the 2 others, and the fact that all we did for that team was pay for their hotel, and they had to pay us back with winnings. They got nothing that first event. That's where we started, all based on our relationships and passions. When you go back to that day, it's always been about that. So if you're starting your own organization and people tell you can't do it, you can, but you've got to get the right people. You have to look to the people who are going to produce things and you can work with for the long haul. And if you don't, you're going to end up being one of those people who is going to be behind. So just know, right? Just know it is very doable. And finally, I'm going to ask one favor. If you hate vVv, I would prefer you hate me. Over the last 5 years, there isn't a single decision inside vVvGaming that I wasn't a part of. Everything we fucked up, everything we did wrong, that was me. This is 2012, and soon someone else is going to come and take over. As a matter of fact, that's going to happen in 1 week. And in 1 week, when vVv Doomhammer, Jordan Kahn, takes over, it will be his organization to run, and he will be the one who will be making all the decisions and having to live with those mistakes. So I ask all of you to give him a good opportunity to succeed, because whether you like me or not, I think we can agree that vVvGaming, a talent factory, has had a lot of positive impact on esports. And now that I'm gone, I think it's important that other people look to that as an opportunity. So to Halo, to Call of Duty, to Firefall, to all the games upcoming that you're not sure about, you want to reach out to vV Doomhammer. You want to let him know. So again, my advice to all of you is, if you hate anything about vVvGaming, let that be me, right? Let that be me, and you go right ahead and say, I'm glad that motherfucker is gone. Get rid of him. Fuck League of Legends. That company's going to get a shitty guy. I hope they all rot in hell. Say that. but I think give Doomhammer and VV Gaming a chance to continue to do what we do very well, regardless of whether or not you like me. All right. So I appreciate everybody's time. I know some of you wanted a real angry rant, but I don't think that it's worth being angry. I think a lot of great people have done a lot of great things, and it's more important to me personally that people know how immensely important their contribution is. And to those of you who are StarCraft fans, I really want you to know that there is, between Sugar Bear and Baby Toss, for those of you who don't know Baby Toss, she is a woman from the Czech Republic who is a passionate StarCraft player and a great fan. And under her drive and determination, forcing us, pushing us, yelling at us every day to really wrap our heads around and launch a much better academy program, we launched something called Aspire, which is a training consortium. Look up the word consortium if you don't know what it means. But it's really an environment to train players. There's no like, oh, do well here and get a free trip to MLG. It's really about an entire mindset to continue to do what Toxic and Glon did, which is go from whatever lower level StarCraft player you are to getting to GM. That's goal one. And we're going to really do that right. And I think we're going to put a lot of smart thinking into the environment, the schedule, and the kind of training program that we have. And we recruited people behind the scenes. We didn't make any announcements. And the first cohort is already up and running. And so far, the result has been really good. And I'm going to be looking very closely at Aspire, because if that model works well in StarCraft, we're going to try it in League of Legends as well. Because we definitely want to have formal training environments that'll really work well. And with that, I am done.
For now.
Yeah. Well,
For now.
For now.
Ain't that right, Jerry? Ain't that right? No, okay, he's not saying anything.
For now. For now.
There we go. Much better.
Here's what we can say. Here's what we can say. And Kurt, you've only been here for, what, a good 20-something episodes at this point.
Something like that.
But, Jerry, it's been an absolute honor. The last 122 episodes to be working on this alongside you. 126, 7, 8 or something like that if you want to throw in all the bonuses that we've done, the arena specials and the top rants and all that good stuff. Thank you once again for everything you've helped teach me, and it's been an absolute honor the last 2.5 years. So I look forward to seeing what you do over at Riot Games, and who knows, maybe I'll end up in California someday, and I'll see you out there as well. But before we end the show, Kurt, any shout-outs that you would like to throw out before we end this episode and start our Losers Bracket hiatus?
Yeah, I mean, since we're being all sappy here, I will say again, I really appreciate the opportunity from both of you, for that matter, and it's one of those things that, despite all the bullshit that goes on between Check 6 and every other team, or every other league or every other event, or no matter what I'm doing, I really, really enjoy this time, and I really wouldn't trade it for the world. No one else. So I appreciate it. Hopefully we can come back.
Yeah, it just wouldn't be the same without you. So to be honest, I wouldn't want to come back without you, Jerry. But we shall see what the future holds.
I feel the same way, Jason. So I think we're in the same boat. So I agree. But no, I do have a final shout out though. Shout out to Glon. You mentioned Glon in your in discussion there. Glon qualified for IPL 5 earlier this week. I'm not sure if anyone saw. If you guys talked about that earlier, so absolutely amazing to see him do well. I had another shout out. I forgot what the hell it was though. So
I've got one. If you don't mind.
Well, no, I think I'm done. Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to actually everyone that's been a part of the Losers Bracket all the way back from the beginning as well. Josh Crash Sharp, who actually helped start this up with the Gamers Garage back in the day. Our original co-hosts, vVv Perilous, a young lady by the name of Mrs. Violence, Kelly, who now actually does some work with GameSpot. So that was back the original co-host way back in the day. And then everyone else that's been a part of the show since then, even everyone from John Phoenix Lunsford to Dakota Rapture that we had mentioned earlier in the show. Thank you so much. Even somebody by the name of Spikemouth, who actually is part of Fnatic now, he's been in the chat for this show, so thanks to him as well. You guys all helped make the Losers Bracket what it was over the past couple of years, so kudos to you all. With that being said, I think that just about wraps us up for now. And you might be seeing a little bit more of us in the future. I'll be personally helping out with a little bit more League of Legends content over on the vVvGaming Gaming site while the show is on hiatus, and we will make sure to keep you updated as soon as we can figure out what we're going to be doing in the future, if Jerry will be able to swing the time while working for Riot. In the meantime, have some fun, play some games. We'll be seeing you at some LAN events over the next couple months. Come up, say hi to us. And in the meantime, take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.